A chuckle hangs in the air, a warning disguised as amusement. In the shocked silence that follows, a single moment stretches, a threshold crossed from which there is no return. If you find yourself drawn into moments like this, consider subscribing. There's always another waiting. Jiang Fan chuckled and said, "Commissioner Luo, quite a temper you've got there." Luo Dongcheng's old face turned red. He sighed. "When you see others advancing while you remain stagnant, it creates a sense of disparity, giving rise to unpleasant behavior. I apologize if I've embarrassed you, junior brother Jiang." Jiang Fan simply smiled. He naturally understood what Luo Dongcheng was referring to, and he fully grasped why Luo Dongcheng was being so deferential before him. With a light laugh and no further comment, he said, "I plan to form a team. Commissioner Luo, could you assist in facilitating this?" Luo Dongcheng exclaimed in surprise. "Junior brother Jiang, you want to form a team?" Jiang Fan nodded and said, "I'm preparing to venture into the underground world right away. Time is tight, so I wish to assemble the team now." "Is there an issue with that?" Luo Dongcheng furrowed his brow. His expression showed a hint of contemplation. Jiang Fan's gaze flickered slightly, and he produced a spiritual meat wrapped in lotus leaves. Although it was smaller than the piece given earlier to Lin Yuheng, it greatly improved one's hopes of breaking into the 9th layer of core formation. Meeting thrice counts as fate. "Here's a small gift. Please accept it, Commissioner Luo, without disdain." Luo Dongcheng froze for a moment and quickly stammered, "No, no, no. Junior brother Jiang, you've misunderstood. I'm not trying to make things difficult for you. It's just that a month ago, after a team leader perished, the pavilion master issued a decree. From now on, the team leader of any new team must have reached the 8th layer of core formation. Such stringent requirements are nearly impossible for new disciples to meet. Junior brother Jiang, why not consider joining one of the older teams? As far as I know, several well-established teams with notable accomplishments are recruiting members." Xianxia was shocked. It's true a team's leader died a month ago, leaving all its members injured. I hadn't expected this to affect the creation of new teams. Junior brother Jiang, I was unaware of this beforehand and had no intentions of withholding this from you. If the requirement is the 8th layer of core formation, things would indeed become troublesome. No matter how strong Jiang Fan was, he surely hadn't reached the 8th layer yet. Instead, Jiang Fan breathed a small sigh of relief. Achieving the 8th layer was actually manageable. He pressed the spiritual meat firmly into Luo Dongcheng's hand and stated, "This condition I've already met. Please assist us with the registration, Commissioner Luo, without worry." What? Jiang Fan had reached the 8th layer of core formation. Luo Dongcheng distinctly remembered Jiang Fan being at the 3rd layer when they last exchanged rewards. No matter how resourceful he was, it was impossible to leap so many levels. But upon sensing the unique aroma wafting from the spiritual meat covered in lotus leaves, Luo Dongcheng's pupils shrank suddenly. 1,000-year-old spiritual meat. Was Jiang Fan bribing him to allow this favor? How could he dare accept such a bribe? If anyone from above investigated, he'd be ruined. Yet the mere thought of returning the long-coveted 1,000-year spiritual meat felt akin to being stabbed in the heart. Gritting his teeth, he finally said, "All right. But if someone investigates later, junior brother Jiang, you must demonstrate 8th layer strength. Otherwise, not only would your team be disbanded, but I'll also be implicated." Jiang Fan let out a hearty laugh and said, "Rest assured, Commissioner Luo, rest assured." How could he truly feel at ease? He hesitated before helping Jiang Fan complete the team registration process, then said, "The team's name, its leader, deputy leader, and members." "A name, Jiang Fan turned a questioning glance toward Liu Qingxian, Xia Caoj, and Liang Feiyan. Liang Feiyan proudly suggested, "Call it the Overlord, how imposing and powerful." Liu Qingxian rolled her eyes theatrically. "How vulgar." Even Xia Caoj couldn't help but cast him a sideways glance. "You can go form your Overlord team on your own. Just imagine someone asking which team you belong to, and you answer, 'I'm Xia Caoj of Overlord.' The thought of it alone sent chills down the spine. Liang Feiyan huffed, "Fine, then suggest something better yourselves." Liu Qingxian considered for a moment and said, "Fan, you're the leader and you originate from the Green Cloud Sect." "Why not call it Green Cloud?" Jiang Fan shook his head. First, there were disciples from other sects in the team, making Green Cloud potentially offensive. Second, naming it that might draw trouble to the Green Cloud Sect. Seeing Liu Qingxian's suggestion didn't work, Xia Caoj pondered and said, "Name it Zero." Uncle started out with nothing. Today, here in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, we are also setting forth from zero. One day, when we stand on the summit and look back on this starting point, the name will feel deeply meaningful. Both Liang Fan and Liu Qingxian's eyes lit up slightly. The name had a good symbolism. Jiang Fan also found it agreeable and immediately decided, all right, we'll name it Zero. I am the leader. Deputy Leader Xia Caoj. Members. Tentatively Liu Qingxian and Liang Fan. Luo Dongcheng quickly noted this down and promptly created 4 identity tokens. On the front was the elegant and dynamic character for Zero. On the back were their names and respective roles. Junior Brother Jiang, I wish you luck. With your abilities, you're sure to reap rewards in the underground world. Luo Dongcheng handed the tokens to the 4 of them. Jiang Fan graciously accepted them and said, Thank you, Commissioner Luo. We'll reconvene later. Farewell. Luo Dongcheng smiled as he escorted the group to the door, unexpectedly. An older man with a pale face, no facial hair, a sharp gaze, and an air of righteousness entered with a group. This was none other than Mu Ying's master, Ning Qi. He arrived leading 7 disciples from outside the realm to the task hall. Clearly, he intended to register a team as well. Manager Ning. Luo Dongcheng's eyelid twitched. He hastily signaled Jiang Fan and his group with his eyes, indicating they should quickly put away their identity tokens. Ning Qi was notoriously upright and could not tolerate even the slightest impropriety. If he caught wind of Luo Dongcheng opening the back door for Jiang Fan's group, trouble would follow. Naturally, Jiang Fan wouldn't put Luo Dongcheng in a difficult position. He swiftly pocketed his token. Staying silent, he began heading out. Mu Ying frowned slightly and called out, Junior Brother Jiang? You're not here to form a team too, are you? She glanced at the group with a face full of suspicion. Yu Tiandu noticed their calm expressions, devoid of any frustration from failing to form a team. His gaze flickered subtly, and he said with layered meaning, Manager Ning stated team leaders now must achieve the 8th layer of core formation. Junior Brother Jiang, did you perhaps already successfully form a team? Uninterested initially, Ning Qi was now intrigued. He scrutinized Jiang Fan's group and sternly questioned Luo Dongcheng, were they here to form a team as well? Luo Dongcheng's heart sank and he replied, yes. You approved them. Ning Qi's gaze turned piercing. Luo Dongcheng's heart screamed in agony. Why was his luck this bad? Just one step earlier, Jiang Fan's group would have avoided encountering Ning Qi entirely, sparing him any suspicion. But now, he was in serious trouble. He wanted to lie, but the records at the counter wouldn't allow it. There was no way to cover it up. Left with no choice, he admitted, they passed. But Junior Brother Jiang's strength at Boundary Mountain was witnessed by all. Defeating core formation's 7th layer, it's not an issue. His tone betrayed a hint of unease. Ning Qi snorted through his nose. The Pavilion Master's decree clearly states 8th layer of core formation. You've got quite the audacity to defy the rules and allow someone to form a team without proper qualifications. Hand over your identity token and come with me to see the Pavilion Master. Luo Dongcheng turned pale as a sheet and frantically clasped his hands in a plea, lowering his voice. Manager Ning, please give me a chance. I won't dare violate the rules again. If he were brought before the Pavilion Master, his title of Commissioner would undoubtedly be stripped. He might even be expelled from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. The consequences would be dire. Ning Qi, a man of iron resolve, gripped Luo Dongcheng's wrist tightly. Spare me your begging. Now that you've landed in my hands, you should know the penalty. Move. Ignoring Luo Dongcheng's pleas, Ning Qi dragged him out the door. Already far off, Jiang Fan noticed the commotion behind them and had no choice but to return. He stepped forward and clasped his hands in respect, saying, Mr. Ning, there's been a misunderstanding. Our team has passed a standard inspection and meets the qualifications. Commissioner Luo acted in strict accordance with the rules. Please, do not wrongfully accuse an innocent man. Fan sneered, I remember you. Your name is Jiang Fan, right? Your cultivation is only at the 6th layer of core formation. You haven't reached the 8th layer yet. If Commissioner Luo didn't cheat for you, then what else could it have been? With that, he snorted again through his nose. Now that you're back, come with me to meet the Pavilion Master. You dare to play tricks with unorthodox methods just after entering the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, bringing corrupt influences here. This chief steward's eyes tolerate no sand. Let's go. His hand moved like lightning, grabbing Jiang Fan's arm. But how could Jiang Fan let himself be grabbed so easily? Arcs of thunder shot out from the surface of his body, numbing Ning Qi's hand. Taking advantage of the situation, Jiang Fan broke free, pulled back slightly, and said, Chief Steward Ning, it would be better to investigate clearly before drawing conclusions. Ning Kun was shocked. Thunderdao divine power. A skill like this is an excellent treasure for exploring the underground world. Unfortunately, your intentions are a bit unethical. In our heavenly mechanism pavilion, we'd rather have none than allow the wrong ones. Be obedient and follow me to receive judgment from the pavilion master. Jiang Fan sighed. These old stubborns, why are they always unwilling to listen calmly? Fine, if Chief Steward Ning can defeat me, I'll go with you willingly. Ning Kun burst out laughing angrily. Even senior disciples aren't as arrogant as you. Yu Tiandu, arrest him. It wasn't worth it for a 9th layer core formation chief steward to fight a new disciple directly. That would just make him a laughingstock. Yu Tiandu would be enough. Yu Tiandu at the 7th layer of core formation should effortlessly catch Jiang Fan, whose cultivation was at the 6th layer. But despite shouting for a long time, Yu Tiandu remained unmoving with a troubled look on his face. Ning Kun turned his head to look, frowning. I may not be your master, but I am still the chief steward. Are you refusing my orders now? Yu Tiandu's face flushed as he said, Chief Steward Ning, this is a misunderstanding. It's not that I don't want to follow your orders, but I've already fought with him before, and I lost. Ning Kun was deeply astonished. Yu Tiandu was from the Taikang state. Logically speaking, the martial arts he had encountered and his combat experience should far surpass the Green Cloud Sect disciples. What's more, his cultivation was 1 level higher than Jiang Fan's. Yet he had actually been defeated. Ning Kun re-examined Jiang Fan and let out a faint snort. No wonder you're so arrogant. Turns out you have some real strength. But rules are rules. If you haven't reached the 8th layer of core formation, you cannot form a team. I still have to bring you to see the pavilion master. This time, he decided to handle it personally. With a low shout, his sleeves billowed. The overwhelming spiritual power of a 9th layer core formation cultivator radiated an intense pressure. Everyone present, except Mu Ying, whose expression remained relaxed, showed a hint of pain on their faces. Just the aura was so frightening. It was scary to imagine how powerful his techniques could be. Piercing the clouds to see the moon. He unleashed his palms, evoking a breathtaking image of scattered clouds revealing moonlit brilliance. The force was so immense that even an 8th layer core formation cultivator would struggle to counter it. He executed the move with full strength. Toward such an unorthodox and arrogant junior, he would never show mercy. Seeing Ning Kun's seriousness, Jiang Fan naturally dared not be careless. Divine Lord's vastness! Without hesitation, he decisively activated the Brahma Saint True Spirit technique. A divine statue materialized abruptly and simultaneously launched 4 palms. Boom! Upon collision, the resulting intense shockwave cracked the extraordinary floor with numerous fissures. Everyone besides Mu Ying was blown back, unable to hold their ground. Ning Kun, on the other hand, turned pale with shock. The opponent had actually withstood his full-powered strike, and clearly the opponent still had more tricks to use. At this moment, the divine statue behind Jiang Fan retracted its palms and gradually dissipated. Jiang Fan cupped his hands and said, Chief Steward Ning's strength is profound. This junior is utterly humbled. His voice was calm, without a hint of panting. Ning Kun, however, was breathing heavily, his palms slightly numb, his chest churning with fluctuating energy. The difference in strength was clear to him. Jiang Fan was simply giving him a way out to avoid embarrassment, offering a dignified retreat. Gazing at Jiang Fan with a complex expression, Ning Kun's eyes betrayed a touch of astonishment. I truly misjudged him. This Jiang Fan is the most deserving candidate among the new disciples. Even though Mu Ying's strength was comparable to Jiang Fan's, Mu Ying was already 22 or 23, having cultivated several more years than Jiang Fan. In terms of potential, Jiang Fan far surpassed Mu Ying, such a missed opportunity. Chief Steward Ning, does Jiang Fan's team count or not? Yu Tiandu couldn't quite figure out the situation. He wasn't able to discern how much power Ning Kun had truly used in his strike. If it was only 1 or 2/10 of Ning Kun's strength, Jiang Fan barely holding his ground wouldn't mean much. The 8th layer cultivator Jiang Beihua and the 9th layer Mu Ying both showed thoughtful expressions. The shockwave from earlier didn't seem like something a duel between 7th layer cultivators could produce. A 5th layer disciple from outside snorted, Of course not. Chief Steward Ning clearly didn't use his full strength. Out of leniency toward a newcomer, he must have only used 1 or 2/10 of his power. This comment made Ning Kun's face turn red. He coughed lightly and avoided answering, saying, Though Jiang Fan's cultivation hasn't reached the 8th layer of core formation, his actual strength has. He's qualified to establish a team. All right, Commissioner Luo, what are you standing around for? Hurry up and process the team for my disciple. He tossed the commissioner token back to Luo Dongcheng. Luo Dongcheng caught it in a daze, his mind completely muddled. So Jiang Fan's reassurance to let him rest assured had been literal all along. It turned out Jiang Fan had no need to bribe after all. The spiritual meat had merely been a gift from Jiang Fan. This realization filled Luo Dongcheng with gratitude, and he quickly bowed to Jiang Fan. "Thank you, junior brother Jiang." Jiang Fan smiled slightly. He turned to regroup with Xianxia. Xianxia blinked a few times and muttered, You're this strong? I thought this freshly formed team would disperse immediately just now." She was well aware of Ning Kun's character. Without meeting the 8th layer requirement, Ning Kun would never let Jiang Fan off the hook. "No need to talk about that now. Let's head to the underground world soon," Jiang Fan said eagerly. Xianxia couldn't help but laugh somewhat bitterly. "Aren't you being a bit too impatient? Entering the underground world requires a jade talisman as proof. It's fine for you since I can get one for you from my master. But as for the other 3, they'll need to retrieve theirs from their masters." Jiang Fan recalled that before entering with Dharma Seal Vajra, the pavilion master had given him a jade talisman. He sighed helplessly and said, "Then let's gather back here later." The group nodded and went their separate ways. Xianxia said, "Junior brother, let me take you on a tour of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion and explain the rules along the way." Jiang Fan nodded. The so-called rules were mostly similar to those of the 9th Sect. Still, Jiang Fan listened attentively. Before they knew it, an entire 2-hour period had passed. The rules had been explained, and the upper levels of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion explored. The two were heading toward the task hall for their rendezvous. Suddenly, a sweet voice called out from outside the hall, "Fan, come here." The only one who called him that was Liu Qi, right? Following the voice, he looked over. He saw Liu Qi standing outside the high walls of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. With an air of mystery, she beckoned him with a curling finger. "Come with me." Jiang Fan was puzzled. "Why are you outside the hall?" Liu Qi smiled cryptically. "Just come. I have a surprise for you." Confused, Jiang Fan turned to Xianxia and said, "Senior sister Shang, could you let Keoj and senior brother Liang know to wait for a bit?" Xianxia pouted. "You'll be together every single day later on, and you still care about this little moment. Won't you grow tired of each other? Fine, just go." Jiang Fan chuckled helplessly and followed Liu Qi away. Meanwhile, Xianxia strolled toward the task hall. Zia Keoj and Liang Feiyan were already waiting there, but Liu Qi was waiting there too. "Wait a minute." Xianxia abruptly turned to look at Liu Qi. "Why weren't you outside just now?" Shikyu was stunned. "If that person wasn't you, then who was it?" Outside the hall, Jiang Fan had been following Liu Qi across a great distance until the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was no longer visible in his line of sight. "Qi, where are you taking me?" Liu Qi finally stopped. She pointed toward the deep blue sea nearby and said, "Does it look beautiful?" Jiang Fan lifted his gaze. Only then did he realize. It turned out that the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was backed by a vast ocean. The Tiger Demon Emperor Mansion was located in the furthest north of the demon race, adjacent to the North Sea. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, on the other hand, stood in the southernmost regions, overlooking the South Sea. Two great powers, each guarding the northern and southern ends of the continent. Clearly, they had a tacit understanding to prevent the Sea Demon clan from invading the continent. At this moment, as far as the eye could see, the sea shimmered brightly, with a flock of white seagulls circling above the surface. Occasionally, unfortunate little fish would rise to the surface, only to be snatched away. Scenes of lively vitality. A sea breeze swept across, passing through the wild grass in the hills as if combed gently by an invisible hand. Liu Qi's black hair fluttered. The hem of her purple dress swayed lightly, outlining her graceful figure like ink strokes. Peaks gathered and waves surged. "Beautiful!" Liu Qi tilted her head to glance at him, her ethereal beauty causing one's heart to race. Jiang Fan responded, "The scenery is beautiful, but the person is even more stunning." He reached out and naturally wrapped an arm around her waist. Liu Qi's body stiffened slightly and struggled free. Jiang Fan looked puzzled, a hint of unfamiliarity flashing in his eyes. "What's wrong? Calling me here alone, isn't it for intimacy? Could it really be just to admire the view?" Liu Qi brushed her hair messily, flustered. "It's a bit sudden." Jiang Fan embraced her waist once more and said, "Why be shy? You never acted like this before." Liu Qingxian squirmed a little but dared not push away again. Biting her rosy lips lightly with pearly teeth, she said, "Fan, do you remember the cultivation technique you taught me in my dreams?" Jiang Fan nodded. "Of course I do. Sword heart engraving, right. In the dream, you saw a one-armed elder performing swordsmanship and thereby comprehended the fourth form." As he spoke, his hand began to roam unrestrainedly over her slender, soft waist. Even through the delicate silk fabric, her skin's elasticity was perceptible. Liu Qingxian's body became rigid, yet she didn't dare struggle anymore, saying, "I seem to have forgotten." "Could you teach me again?" She clenched her silver teeth in secret. Enduring immense embarrassment, a voice tinged with helplessness echoed directly in her soul. "Was this really necessary? Is the sacrifice perhaps too much?" The speaker, naturally, was the remnant soul in the broken hairpin. And the Liu Qingxian before Jiang Fan, it was none other than Gu Zinner. Using such an expensive Huaxi bead and getting yourself taken advantage of. What if you don't manage to extract the sacred doctrine? Wouldn't that be a complete loss? Gu Zinner thought irritably. Even if I fail, it's still not a loss to me. Killing this scoundrel to vent my anger would still be worth it. Besides, why does Master think I won't succeed in deceiving him? Look at him, acting like a lecher possessed. A mere invitation, and he followed along immediately. Barely exchanged a few words, and he's already making moves. Easy to fool. The remnant soul in the hairpin let out a cryptic laugh. Really? Well, I hope to see your performance. She couldn't believe that someone as cautious as Jiang Fan wouldn't have grown suspicious by now. Perhaps, at this moment, Jiang Fan was feigning ignorance, while it was her foolish apprentice who was being duped. Hopefully, her foolish apprentice wouldn't get deceived too disastrously. Jiang Fan tapped her on the forehead lightly and said, "Already forgotten." Gu Zinner acted coyly. "Teach me again, won't you?" Jiang Fan sighed helplessly. "All right, I'll teach you one more time." Gu Zinner felt a surge of joy within. Cheerfully saying, "Master, did you see that? Didn't I say so? A man like this whose brain is filled with women is easily deceived." The remnant soul remained silent, just watching quietly. What made her chuckle inwardly was Jiang Fan suddenly changing his tone. "However, I won't teach you for free. What should you call me now?" Gu Zinner froze, scanning her surroundings to confirm they were alone, instantly comprehending Jiang Fan's implication. Seething inwardly, what does this rascal mean? Does he want me to call him husband? Jiang Fan said. "Without changing how you address me, you still expect me to teach you swordsmanship." Gu Zinner bit her silver teeth lightly. Suppressing her embarrassment and humiliation, she reluctantly uttered, "Whose husband?" After saying it, she cursed inwardly, "Despicable scoundrel, forcing me to call him husband. Just wait, once I reveal my true identity, I'll see if he dares accept the title." Jiang Fan responded softly, laughing gleefully as he pulled Liu Qingxian into his embrace and tilted her chin. Gazing at her exquisite beauty, he said, "Qingxian, it's been a while. Have you missed your husband?" Gu Zinner felt as though she was enveloped in raging flames. At such close proximity, she felt Jiang Fan's fiery breath on her face intimately. While flustered and angry, she stammered, "Miss, of course I missed you." Just as she finished speaking, suddenly her view darkened. Next thing she knew, her lips were enveloped. Gu Zinner was startled and shoved Jiang Fan away abruptly, quickly wiping her lips. Pa. What are you doing?" Jiang Fan stumbled slightly, almost landing flat on his backside. He looked at her with confusion and said, "You're not Liu Qingxian, are you? She wouldn't push me away like this." Gu Zinner felt a jolt in her heart. Her reaction was too extreme. Judging by Liu Qingxian and Jiang Fan's affectionate reunion, spinning in circles upon seeing each other. Their relationship seemed extraordinarily intimate. Her own behavior was undeniably suspicious. Quickly moving forward, she began apologizing profusely. "I'm sorry, I was startled. I didn't mean it." Jiang Fan, embarrassed and furious, said, "It's not like we haven't kissed before." "Was that necessary?" Gu Zinner noticed his doubts fading and felt slightly relieved, continuing to apologize incessantly. "I'm truly sorry." Jiang Fan, however, pulled her back into his arms again and said, "What use is an apology? Kiss me yourself. Don't make me urge you." "What?" Gu Zinner fumed internally. He wanted her to kiss him willingly? Over her dead body. Instantly, the thought of killing him surged, but after contemplating, remembering her master was watching. She had assured her master she could extract the sacred doctrine. To give up now? Master already held her in low regard. If she failed halfway through, wouldn't that further confirm her master's disdain? After hesitating briefly, she closed her eyes, silently chanting, I'll just pretend I'm being kissed by a pig. Later, I'll shred him into eighths, no, into sixteenths, no, into dust. Taking a deep breath, she closed her eyes and leaned in. Hey, the hairpin tried to stop her. The sacrifice was too extreme. Moreover, it likely would be entirely wasted. Still, pondering how this experience might temper Gu Zinner, intervening excessively would erase the opportunity for growth. Thus, she swallowed her urge to protest, watching her foolish apprentice lose her first kiss. Zinner took the initiative to peck him. Feigning shyness, she lowered her head. "Are you satisfied, husband?" As soon as the words fell. Suddenly, her neck was grabbed by a big hand and her waist was pulled tightly into an embrace. Immediately, her lips were enveloped in warmth. Gu Zinner widened her eyes in shock. She struggled to push Jiang Fan away. But the moment her hands touched his chest, she realized that pushing him away would truly expose her identity. So the hand that was pushing against his chest turned into a gentle embrace around his waist. Her eyes gradually closed. She frantically repeated in her heart, "Kiss away, kiss away. Kiss me as you wish. If I manage to let you live today, I will say my name backwards 800 times. Despite trying to calm herself down, her body remained tense. Jiang Fan's thin lips were like a kitten's tongue, gentle yet warm. The difference was the kitten would lick the palm. Jiang Fan's lips, however, were on her lips. Who knows what Jiang Fan had eaten? A faint sweetness blossomed on her taste buds. The warm breath from his nostrils brushed against her face, lacking the repulsive odor men were often described within books. It seems it's not that bad either. Gu Zinner muttered to herself, a little better than being kissed by a pig. Just as her body was beginning to relax, suddenly her body tensed up again. Because Jiang Fan's hand, which was resting on her waist, moved. It traveled upwards along her abdomen. Gu Zinner panicked and hurriedly pressed down on his hand, eyes wide, and promptly separated their lips, saying, "Fan, you can't do this." Jiang Fan looked at her tenderly. "We are already husband and wife in every way, what does it matter? What's wrong with you today?" Saying so, not allowing her to resist, he kissed her again. Gu Zinner's mind was a mess. What to do? What to do? That Liu Qingxian surprisingly already had that kind of relationship with Jiang Fan. Wouldn't blocking his hand from advancing reveal her identity? Maybe she should just give up. Never mind the sage doctrine, just punch his head and cut the losses in time. But on second thought, she was already being held, being kissed like this. She had sacrificed so much already. Giving up now would be worse than just killing him from the start. I can't let my efforts go to waste. Persevere. Anyway, she was going to kill him later. What happened today, apart from me and my master, apart from heaven and earth, no one would know. By killing him, it would be as if it never happened. Thinking of this, she hardened her heart. She slowly let go of her hand. So Jiang Fan's hand was like a wild horse set free, tyrannically probing and conquering. Gu Zinner felt both ashamed and angry, the killing intent in her heart brewing to the extreme. "I will definitely kill you. Definitely." Who knows how long it was. Gu Zinner felt she was about to go numb. Finally, Jiang Fan withdrew his hand, but he did not behave obediently. He continued to explore her body. This left Gu Zinner a bit puzzled. Why did it feel like he was looking for something? Until her whole body had been touched all over. Jiang Fan finally separated their lips. Few even he was overwhelmed with exhaustion, gasping for a few breaths. Gu Zinner also began to breathe heavily. She felt like her small mouth was swollen from kissing, and her chest was tingling and sore. This little rascal was truly rough. Was he always like this with Liu Qingxian? At this moment, Gu Zinner even felt some sympathy for Liu Qingxian. Why find such a man who doesn't know how to cherish tender beauty? "Husband, are you satisfied now?" Gu Zinner said coquettishly. Jiang Fan gave her bottom a pat, saying, "My wife's performance is not bad. Then let me teach you sword heart engraving once more. This swordsmanship focuses on feeling the sword intent, not the sword form. Close your eyes, I'll guide you through it by hand once." Gu Zinner was delighted. "Great, my sacrifice was not in vain. Little rascal, after teaching swordsmanship, it's your death sentence. I'll chop you into pieces, burn you to ashes, and finally scatter them in a foul latrine." On the surface, she showed a joyful expression. "Thank you, husband." To show her gratitude, she took the initiative to kiss Jiang Fan on the cheek. Jiang Fan came behind her, holding her right hand, saying, "Close your eyes, move with me." Gu Zinner had no doubts about him. Indeed, some swordsmanship requires one to comprehend the sword intent. Focusing on the sword form could distract from the essence. Closing one's eyes to comprehend the sword intent is not uncommon. She immediately closed her eyes voluntarily, letting Jiang Fan guide her through the swordsmanship motions. Even without a sword, she could indeed feel as Jiang Fan guided her body the execution of a sword technique. Slightly puzzled, though, she vaguely heard the sound of chains clanking. Done! Jiang Fan suddenly stopped. Was it over just like that? It seemed like it had just started, right? Gu Zinner opened her eyes to see. Jiang Fan was holding one end of a chain. The other end was tied to a floating purple sword hovering around her body. With a strong tug by Jiang Fan, the chain tightened suddenly. Her arms and body were tightly bound together. Her feet were tied at the ankles. Next, her wrists were bound behind her back. Even her neck was encircled with chains. It was even more securely tied than when binding concubine Xianxia before. "What are you doing?" Gu Zinner exclaimed in surprise. Jiang Fan's gaze turned cold as he swept her off the ground with a horizontal move. Then he stepped on her back with one foot. Just moments ago, he was infatuated with her. In the blink of an eye, he had her pinned to the ground. This stark contrast made Gu Zinner somewhat bewildered. "Husband, what are you doing?" Jiang Fan replied indifferently. "Stop pretending. The real Liu Qingxian is waiting for me in front of the task hall." As soon as this fake Liu Qingxian appeared, Jiang Fan noticed something was off. Besides, she kept luring him outside. Without needing more, it was obvious she was an imposter. However, he didn't know what method this person used to mimic her appearance so perfectly. It was only after physical contact that Jiang Fan sensed subtle differences. Gu Zinner became flustered. Did she expose herself? No way, right? She decided to gamble one more time, putting on a pained expression. "Husband, you're hurting me." Jiang Fan laughed. "You don't need to cling to hope. You've already been exposed. Firstly, sword heart engraving was discovered by Liu Qingxian and me together. She wouldn't fail to name this swordsmanship. As for you, you claimed it was a sword technique taught in a dream. Though I don't know how you knew she experienced being taught in a dream. But just based on this, your identity was revealed. Secondly, Liu Qingxian is straightforward. If I become affectionate, she wouldn't refuse. But you were startled initially. And thirdly, never mind, no need to humiliate you further." He summoned the purple sword. Pointing it at her heart, he said, "I have only one question. Who are you?" He couldn't quite understand. He had just come to the heavenly mechanism pavilion. It was too soon to make any enemies, wasn't it? How did he provoke someone who went to these lengths to deceive him, even attempting to steal sword heart engraving? Even more astonishing, she knew about the dream teaching. This affair should only be known to Liu Qingxian and Jiang Fan. He was truly curious about the person before him. Gu Zinner's face froze. With the conversation to this point, there's no point in pretending. Her eyes burned with shame and anger. "So you knew I was a fake, and yet you still did that to me." Thinking back to the fact that she was the one who had been deceived, she had foolishly offered up her first kiss and allowed him to touch her all over. An uncontrollable wave of shame surged in her heart. It wasn't physical. Rather, it was the shame of being deceived. How could she have been tricked so badly? This feeling of shame transformed into towering rage. "Speak!" She bit down on her silver teeth and growled. Jiang Fan smiled faintly and said, "Since you chose to seduce me, shouldn't I respect your earnest effort?" Gu Zinner gritted her teeth so hard they made a cracking sound. Her eyes flared with a fiery fury that seemed ready to burn up the heavens. From between her teeth, two words burst forth. "Shameless!" Jiang Fan shrugged. "Doesn't matter. You're not the first woman to call me that." As he spoke, his palm pressed down and the tip of the purple sword thrust forward. Surprisingly, the penetration wasn't smooth. This kind of feeling only happened when piercing into nascent soul bodies. Gu Zinner gritted her teeth and said coldly, "How unfortunate. That woman you mentioned is probably me." Suddenly, a burst of incredible chi force erupted from her body, forcing Jiang Fan back with a stagger. Jiang Fan's expression grew slightly serious. There were very few core formation cultivators who could repel him like this. Around Gu Zinner, swirling currents of pure chi lifted her gently. Her face was cold. She opened her delicate cherry lips and spat out a dim bead. Strange strands of colorful energy began to emanate from her body. Gradually, she revealed her true appearance. "You wanted to know who I am?" "As you wish," Gu Zinner said coldly. She wore a short-sleeved orange-red blouse with buttons paired with a pale yellow long skirt. Her hair styled in extravagant flying goddess buns adorned with two pink ribbons. Lively, radiant, youthful beauty. However, the most distinctive feature was the painted opera mask upon her face. And who else could this nascent soul expert from Zhongshan first-class building be? "It's you!" Jiang Fan froze. "How did you chase me all the way to Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion?" Is it really necessary to haunt me like a ghost? He felt an urge to vomit blood. It had already been days since that incident. Why was this woman still so persistent? Gu Zinner's eyes burned with fury. I came to Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion for official business. You brought yourself right to me. If I don't deal with you, it would be an offense against heaven itself. Damn, turns out he had walked right into the line of fire. Recalling his earlier actions against Gu Zinner, Jiang Fan felt deeply wronged. He said, with your current realm, you must be a vice master at Jiangshan first-class building, correct? If you want revenge, why not do it openly and with dignity? Disguising yourself like this, how could anyone know you're a nascent soul senior? Isn't this just misleading people? Huh. So now it's my fault. Gu Zinner was so enraged she yelled furiously, you still know what you've done to me. Do you also know how you're about to die? Eh? With a furious grip, she tried to tear the chains apart, driven to slap Jiang Fan to death in one blow. But despite her attempts, she realized the chains were bizarrely strong. Even with her strength, she couldn't break free. What's with these chains? Unlock them immediately? After several failed attempts, a trace of amazement emerged on her face. Jiang Fan exhaled in relief. Thankfully, he had acted cautiously and restrained her with the dragon binding chain. Otherwise, this would have been a nightmare. He slowly retreated. Facing powerhouses of her realm, even if they were immobilized by the dragon binding chain, there was no guarantee he'd come out on top. Chances are he'd end up humiliated himself. The safest move was to flee to Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion and dive into the underground world. It would be much safer there. Not even the Dharma Seal Vajra could enter without offering treasures to seek the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master's permission. Despite being a vice master of Jiangshan first-class building, she wouldn't dare storm the place recklessly. You still want to leave? Come back here, Gu Zinner shouted. Jiang Fan smirked, seeing her struggle against the dragon binding chain, which reassured him greatly. As he summoned the Nine Heavens Thunder Dragon, he said, this chain was specifically made to restrain nascent soul experts. The key is with the Demon Emperor. You can go ask them yourself. See you later. Gu Zinner screamed with rage. You shameless rogue. After what you did to me, you think you can leave here alive? Jiang Fan, as though recalling something, pulled out a long object wrapped in red cloth from his sleeve and waved it. I have to say, as a nascent soul cultivator, you're ridiculously poor, huh? I searched everywhere and only found this. You don't even have a space storage device. Or is there something hidden in a place I didn't get to touch? He looked disappointed. Gu Zinner's pupils shrank. The item wrapped in the red cloth was a broken hairpin. She panicked. Her body erupted with terrifying violet flames. Whatever these flames were, they began melting the dragon binding chain, leaving it red-hot and dripping as molten liquid. Jiang Fan's eyelids twitched wildly. Without hesitation, he bolted. But unexpectedly, the cloth-wrapped object in his hand suddenly flew away by itself. Jiang Fan scrambled to catch it. Instead, it flew straight into Gu Zinner's hands. HMPH, you still think you can steal from me? Gu Zinner said smugly. Jiang Fan scowled. After the effort he took to retrieve the item from her, it just ran off on its own. Standing atop the Thunder Dragon, he sneered. Do you want to know the third way your disguise got exposed? Gu Zinner, still indignant, couldn't figure out any flaw with her disguise. She snapped, I permit you to say it before you die. Jiang Fan looked at her chest. He held out a hand and gently shaped it like a C, then with a playful smirk he uttered 3 words. One palm grasp. Before Gu Zinner could process the meaning, he commanded the Thunder Dragon to flee. In the blink of an eye, he vanished into the horizon. Gu Zinner blinked her clear, bright eyes. She raised her hand, mimicked a grasping motion in the air, and asked, What does that mean? The remnant soul in the hairpin couldn't stand it any longer and groaned. You still don't get it. He's saying yours are small. Huh. Gu Zinner's eyes widened instantly. Rage flared up, shooting fire from her gaze. She screamed. He touched them, squeezed them, and played with them. Then dares to say they're small? That shameless rogue? I'll kill him. Huff, with the dragon binding chain thoroughly melted. She stomped off, her eyes red in hot pursuit. The hairpin soul said, With his cloud shadow technique, by the time you catch up, he'll already be inside Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. What now? Are you planning to storm it and kill the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master's new disciple? Gu Zinner was consumed with rage. I don't care. That scoundrel humiliated me like this. Even if it means fighting the Pavilion Master to death, I'll make him pay. The hairpin soul shook its head in disappointment. If I had known you were so useless, I wouldn't have come back. Following that kid at least wouldn't require worrying about anything. Still fuming, Gu Zinner regained a hint of rationality. She landed atop a boulder. She collapsed to her knees. How could he bully me like this? Knowing I wasn't the real Liu Qingxian, he still kissed, hugged, and touched me, stole my hairpin, and even tried to kill me. And then he called me small. It's just too much. As she spoke, tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. The hairpin remnant's soul twitched with frustration. Why does it seem like being called small is the real issue here? It rolled its figurative eyes and said, I told you that you couldn't outmatch him. You didn't believe me, and now this. Lost your first kiss, taken advantage of, and forever unmarriageable. You might as well cut your losses. If you keep chasing him, I worry you'll lose everything in the end. There was no way Gu Zinner would accept those words. She wiped her tears and glared with reddened eyes. No way. I, Gu Zinner, have never suffered such a loss in my life. I will kill him for sure, the hairpin soul asked. So what's your plan? He's so terrified of you that he might not dare leave Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion for the next 3 to 5 years. Are you going to camp at the entrance forever? Gu Zinner gritted her teeth. If he won't come out, I can go in, can't I? She painfully produced a Huaxi bead and snorted. Jiang Fan, I refuse to believe you'll get away from my 5-finger mountain. With that, she raised her head and swallowed the Huaxi bead. Liu Qingxian and the others head on. Fan, are you all right? Liu Qingxian hurried over, her face dripping with sweat from worry. Upon hearing that Jiang Fan had been captured by someone impersonating her, she was utterly terrified. Jiang Fan smiled and said, I'm fine. Someone was pretending to be you and wanted to trick me into giving up my cultivation technique. But I saw through them and scared them off. The crowd collectively breathed a sigh of relief. Liu Qingxian threw herself into his arms, saying, You scared me to death, Fan. Feeling the warmth pressed against his chest, Jiang Fan nodded slightly. This was the real Liu Qingxian. Xianxia also exhaled deeply. If we hadn't found you, I was about to notify the pavilion master. Jiang Fan was speechless. By the time you notified the pavilion master, my body would have already gone cold. Luckily, the vice master of Jiangshan first-class building, before killing him, had wanted to deceive him into handing over the sword heart engraving. This gave Jiang Fan the chance to trick her into wearing the dragon binding chain instead. He glanced behind him and still felt a lingering fear. Let's go, hurry into the underground world. That relentless vice master, after killing her merchandise last time, was so furious that she dried up the large river next to Boundary Mountain. If she was this set on harassing him again, wouldn't she grind his bones to dust? Better to hide quickly while he still could. Led by Xianxia, the group arrived at the northern corner annex of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Inside the hall, there was no visible entryway leading underground, as one might imagine. Only a massive circular array occupied the entirety of the great hall's floor. It was inscribed with countless intricate patterns. As Jiang Fan stared at it, he began to feel dizzy and nauseous. Don't look at the ground. This is a spatial array, and the patterns on it contain profound mysteries. Anyone not skilled in array studies will feel discomfort if they look at it for too long. Yu Yunzi's voice drifted over. Jiang Fan looked in the direction of the voice. He saw Yu Yunzi seated in the depths of the hall. He quickly bowed. Vice Pavilion Master, you. In such a hurry to delve into the underground world, are you? Yu Yunzi smiled, appreciating Jiang Fan's eagerness. Still, the underground world is extremely dangerous, especially with an abundance of sinister forces. The first 7 layers are relatively safe. Starting from the 8th layer, you'll encounter unimaginable foul entities. Be careful not to let them latch onto you. Jiang Fan had heard comments about the sinister forces in the underground world before. Such descriptions, though, were rather ambiguous. The remnant souls of the Six-Path Masters, in a way, also counted as evil spirits, one kind of sinister entity. The Yin corpses of the great Yin sect similarly fell into that category. In short, anything that deviated from ordinary living beings seemed to be lumped under the term sinister forces. These could take countless forms, defying any singular definition. Thus, Jiang Fan couldn't resist asking, Vice Pavilion Master Yu, what traits do these sinister forces in the underground world typically have? Yu Yunzi glanced intently at Jiang Fan and Liang Feiyin. He gave them 2 cryptic words, guard against lust. Then, turning to Xianxia, Liu Qingxian, and Xia Caoj, he added 2 more words, guard against anger. Finally, surveying the entire group, he gave one last piece of advice in 2 words, guard against greed. All right, now grip your jade talismans and step onto the spatial array. Without giving the group time to fully comprehend his words, Yu Yunzi promptly issued this command. Jiang Fan didn't ask further questions. He was the first to step onto the array, with the others following closely behind. As the array activated, a beam of incredibly pure light burst forth, engulfing the entire group. Jiang Fan felt the world spin around him. When he regained his footing, he was greeted by a dim and murky world. Above, thick black clouds swirled, occasionally illuminated by flashes of lightning, the sky impossibly high. All around were wide-open spaces, with no end in sight to the landscape. "You call this a pavilion?" Jiang Fan stared at Xianxia in confusion. By the looks of it, this was more like an independent world. Xianxia shrugged. "You're asking me? Who do you think I should ask? This is the second layer of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. It's been well trodden by predecessors, so there's nothing valuable left. Let's just press on to the next layer." Counting from the ground floor, the first underground layer would undoubtedly be the pavilion's second layer. Unwilling to give up, Jiang Fan roused the little Qilin. "Check it out!" The little Qilin poked out its fluffy head, its big eyes darting around before shaking its head and saying, "Trash!" "All right." Jiang Fan gave up. Following Xianxia to the center of this layer, there was another hall in this location as well. However, no one was stationed there. Mimicking their earlier actions, the group gripped their jade talismans and stood on the spatial array. Activating it once again, Jiang Fan soon understood that the jade talismans served as a form of pass for using this spatial storage mechanism. If lost, one could become trapped on a certain layer. Unless someone activated the spatial array, they'd have no way out. Next, they reached the third layer. The little Qilin poked its head out again, giving another slight shake. Trash, and so the group continued leaping from one layer to the next within the pavilion, the fourth layer. "The items here are ancient, but they're of no use. Let's keep descending." The fifth layer. "Worth a few buns, but nothing useful. Let's keep going down." The sixth layer. "There are a few things here, but they're not to my liking. Let's keep heading lower." The seventh layer. "Wait, what's that? Pick it up and let me take a look." The little Qilin extended one stubby leg, pointing at a human-height black boulder not far away. At that moment, Xianxia also stopped. "All right, for your first visit, stick to the seventh layer for now. There are very few sinister entities here, so there's no need to worry about danger. I'm going to check on how my master and senior brothers are faring in suppressing the yin energy. I'll come find you on this layer later." Jiang Fan cupped his hands. "Senior sister, tend to your own matters. We already know the way back." As long as the jade talismans remained in their possession, they could use the transmission arrays to ascend layer by layer. Xianxia responded with a fist salute and headed toward the transmission array leading to the next layer below. Jiang Fan looked at Liu Qingxian, Xia Caoj, and Liang Feiyan. "Since this layer isn't particularly dangerous, how about we split up? We can each explore and get a feel for the area." The three of them were inclined to agree. Liang Feiyan took out 3 signal flares left over from the Boundary Mountain battle and said, "If we run into danger, we each fire a flare." Jiang Fan accepted one and nodded. "All right." He watched the 3 of them walk off, carefully memorizing their respective directions. Turning, he approached the stone that the little Qilin had pointed out. "You're sure there's a treasure inside this?" Jiang Fan frowned deeply. He couldn't blame himself for being skeptical. This stone was right next to the transmission array, no more than a few dozen feet away. The surface of the stone had areas that were unusually smooth, likely worn down over the years by countless passers-by brushing against or touching it. If it were hiding a treasure, wouldn't someone have already discovered it long ago? However, the little Qilin's sensitivity to heaven and earth spiritual treasures far exceeded any ordinary person's. Jiang Fan circled the large black stone once. He did, in fact, notice something unusual. On the backside of the stone, the soil pressed against it seemed unnaturally fresh, as if it had been dug up recently. After some thought, he unsheathed the purple sword, carefully scraping away the soil. To his amazement, buried within was a small, dust-colored cloth pouch. Using the sword, he cautiously cut the pouch open and peered inside. Inside, he found a blood-red key emanating an eerie aura. "What is this?" He hesitated to touch it, but just then, a familiar, sultry voice sounded from a distance. "Oh dear, Brother Ren, don't be angry, all right? I really did lose that key. You saw it yourself, things were so chaotic back then, how could I possibly keep track of it? I've even searched my entire body for you. You've looked everywhere along the way, too. It's really not something I've hidden." Jiang Fan was dumbfounded. That voice, Wu Manyu? He glanced again at the blood-red key before him. A wry smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. That woman was at it again, tricking and deceiving people wherever she went. Ning Kun had once imparted this wisdom to Jiang Fan. There is zero tolerance for evil winds and corrupt practices. Thus, confiscation of stolen goods was in order. Jiang Fan took out a jade box, placed the blood-red key inside, and threw it into his space storage device. He then reflexively pulled out the turtle breath cloak. It was only then that he remembered he had already returned it to Huaxi. Nowhere to hide. The sound of the approaching voice drew closer. With a quick thought, he retrieved the key and tucked it into his sleeve for later use. Then he casually stepped out from behind the stone. Acting as though nothing had happened, he headed toward the space transmission array leading to the next layer. The two parties were less than 100 zhang apart. Jiang Fan's sudden appearance naturally caught the attention of the two. The tall, burly male disciple with a calm complexion merely glanced at the unfamiliar Jiang Fan with slight surprise. Wearing a wine-red, form-fitting long dress that accentuated her stunning figure was none other than Wu Manyu. She was still just as she always was. Lightly adorned with makeup, her face was exquisitely beautiful. Her peach blossom eyes, often looking even at dogs with affection, were brimming with a mischievous smile. But, upon seeing Jiang Fan approaching, her smile suddenly froze. She lightly rubbed her eyes, looked again carefully, and confirmed that she hadn't misjudged. Moments ago, her playful smile had charmed everyone. Now she erupted with a lion's roar. "Jiang Fan, how dare you show your face at the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion?" On that day, Jiang Fan had left her with nothing to return to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. How could he have the gall to show up? Jiang Fan feigned the expression of only now recognizing Wu Manyu, slapped his thigh and exclaimed, "Senior Sister Wu! Ah, I've missed you, junior brother has missed you terribly." This was his honest sentiment. Countless times, when he was in danger, he had hoped Wu Manyu was there. Then he'd have someone to take the fall for him. Seeing Wu Manyu again after so long, Jiang Fan felt an unprecedented sense of security. He eagerly strode forward. The bold move prompted Wu Manyu to calm down. Her mind quickly replayed the nightmares she'd experienced while being with Jiang Fan. It seemed like every time she was with Jiang Fan, misfortune would follow. And every single time, she would suffer a major loss. Without exception, thinking of this, seeing Jiang Fan boldly approach again, she involuntarily shuddered, crossed her arms, and retreated, saying, "Stay back. Keep your distance from me." She was truly afraid of Jiang Fan now. Didn't want to have anything more to do with him, not even a shred of desire. Brother Ren, standing off to the side, looked at Wu Manyu with a bizarre expression. It was his first time seeing Wu Manyu afraid of someone, and it was a young boy who was clearly younger than both of them. "Senior Sister Wu, who is this?" Brother Ren was curious. Wu Manyu kept her eyes fixed on Jiang Fan and said, "Brother Ren, don't ask. Listen to your junior sister's advice and stay far away from him. As far as you can, really. Because he is absolutely not human." Jiang Fan rubbed his nose. Was he truly that bad? He cupped his hands and said, "This Brother Ren, I'm Jiang Fan, recently admitted as a new disciple of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Senior Sister Wu misunderstands me greatly. Please excuse her behavior." Wu Manyu panicked, tugging on Brother Ren's sleeve. "I'm not joking. He's truly not human." Brother Ren, too, was at a loss for words. How could a new disciple frighten you like this? He cupped his hands and said, "Ren Gyuheng, you probably don't recognize me yet as you've just arrived. But you'll hear my name very soon." Only a handful of disciples in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion had the confidence to make such a bold statement. Jiang Fan understood at once and said, "Ah, so it turns out you're one of the 4 legendary prodigies, Brother Ren. It's an honor to meet you, it's truly an honor." "Oh." Ren Gyuheng looked surprised and studied Jiang Fan up and down. "You figured that out just like that? Junior Brother Jiang, you're impressively perceptive." Wu Manyu gritted her teeth and said, "Is that supposed to mean anything? His cunning knows no limit. Brother Ren, let's focus on finding the key and keep our distance from this guy." As she spoke, she discreetly glanced toward the area behind the large black stone. A sense of unease crept into her heart. It seemed as though Jiang Fan had just emerged from behind that stone. Could he have found the key? No way, right? Even a dog's sense of smell couldn't be that sharp, could it? Suddenly, her peripheral vision caught sight of a torn sack. Instantly, her blood pressure shot up. "Jiang Fan, you damned scoundrel. The treasure I painstakingly hid, did you dig it up the moment we met?" Ren Gyuheng nodded and said, "Junior Brother Jiang, we have some business to attend to. Farewell," as he was about to leave. He noticed Wu Manyu frozen in place, her expression shifting back and forth. "Junior Sister Wu, what's the matter?" Wu Manyu snapped back to reality. Her face quickly turned into a cheerful and smiling expression. "Junior brother Jiang, tell me, did you happen to pick up a key on your way here? A red one, very striking." She deliberately emphasized the word pick up, meaning Jiang Fan mustn't reveal it was dug out from underneath the stone. Jiang Fan pondered briefly. If Wu Manyu discovered he took the key, it was within his expectations. After all, he had come from behind the large stone. Wu Manyu wouldn't be capable of not suspecting him. If he chose to hide it now, Wu Manyu might resort to any means necessary to take the key back, be it open combat or sneaky schemes. Besides, he still didn't know what this key was for or what value it held. Rather than keep it and risk trouble, why not use it to barter for something useful? "Are you talking about this?" He took out the jade box and displayed it to the two. Ren Gyuhong's face lit up with joy. "You really found it. That belongs to us. Please return it quickly, junior brother Jiang." Jiang Fan tucked the jade box back into his sleeve and said, "Brother Ren, let's not beat around the bush. I can't just hand over the key for free." Seeing Jiang Fan's blunt attempt to strike a deal, Ren Gyuhong didn't want to complicate matters either. After all, who knew who this new disciple's master was? If it turned out to be one of the vice pavilion masters, or even his own master, an altercation now would make future encounters awkward or troublesome. His gaze shifted as he said, "How about this? I'll give you some mid-grade crystal stones." The outside world only has low-grade crystal stones. Only the underground world produces mid-grade ones. They're rich in spiritual energy and highly sought after by many high-tier martial artists for cultivation purposes. Jiang Fan shook his head. His space storage device contained multiple heavenly mechanism pavilion crystal tokens with a balance of 100,000 each. If he wanted crystal stones, he could exchange tokens for them anytime. "How about this? The key likely opens a certain place, right? Why don't you take me there? I'm just looking to broaden my horizons. What I gain isn't important." Listening to the first part of Jiang Fan's offer, Ren Gyuhong frowned deeply. The key led to a perilous secret chamber, potentially full of treasures. With one extra person, their share of the loot would inevitably decrease. But upon hearing the last part, he finally realized. Jiang Fan, as a mere disciple, would struggle just to stay alive in that place. What ability would he have to vie for treasures with them? Therefore, his frown eased, and he agreed readily. "All right, but the place is extremely dangerous. I can't guarantee your safety, junior brother." Jiang Fan nodded and replied, "Brother Ren, just lead the way to the location. After that, you don't need to worry about me." With that assurance, Ren Gyuhong was completely relieved. What a considerate and easygoing junior brother. What was Wu Manyu thinking, being so wary of him? Manyu stomped her feet anxiously. "Brother Ren, you can't let him go. Otherwise, you'll regret it." If only she'd known things would evolve to include Jiang Fan, she might as well not have hidden the key, and just opened the area with Ren Gyuhong directly. Now great, her plan to monopolize the treasure failed, and she even brought this wolf Jiang Fan in. Ren Gyuhong rebuked Wu Manyu. "Junior sister Wu, a senior sister should act as a senior sister does. If you aren't even willing to share a single benefit with your juniors, how will you ever win hearts?" He then patted Jiang Fan's shoulder, saying, "Just ignore her. The key was discovered by me. It's my decision who joins." Jiang Fan cupped his fists gratefully. "Brother Ren, your magnanimity is truly admirable." Ren Gyuhong chuckled. "Come, follow me to the 8th layer." Jiang Fan nodded. Before leaving, he raised his finger and used spiritual energy to carve words on a large black stone, leaving a message for Liu Qingxian and the others about where they were heading, to avoid them panicking and blindly searching later. Wu Manyu stomped her feet again and clenched her teeth in secret. "Ren Gyuhong, you just wait and see, you'll regret this." Reluctantly, she followed behind. Under the lead of the two, Jiang Fan arrived at the 8th layer. No sooner had he entered than Jiang Fan felt the faint Yin Qi lingering in the air. Though not as concentrated or harmful as that of Yin corpses, its smell was still rather unpleasant. "Junior brother Jiang, you'll need to be extra cautious here in the 8th layer. Occasionally, sinister things may appear. Did the senior in charge above give you any warnings?" Ren Gyuhong fanned the murky air before him, frowning as he spoke. Jiang Fan's expression turned peculiar. "We male disciples were warned to abstain from lust." Ren Gyuhong nodded approvingly. "That's right. Remember, you absolutely must abstain from lust." "Absolutely." Jiang Fan was puzzled. Why abstain from lust? At that moment, Ren Gyuhong pulled out 2 talismans, keeping one for himself and handing the other to Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan took it and was about to ask its purpose. Ren Gyuhong wordlessly pressed the talisman to his chest. Instantly, he disappeared into thin air. Soon, his voice came from seemingly nearby. This is a low-grade, dustless talisman. Anyone below nascent soul won't be able to detect us. There are quite a few disciples active in the 8th layer. If they discover our trail, they'll surely follow us. Jiang Fan smiled knowingly. Invisibility, he was quite familiar. Without delay, he pressed the talisman to his chest. Witnessing Ren Guhong's cautiousness, Jiang Fan grasped the seriousness of the disciples from the outer realm divine sect. With teammates like this in the exploration ahead, the journey to the hidden chamber would undoubtedly be safer. Wu Manyu took action as well. She pulled out a jade hairpin meant for men, intending to wear it on her head for invisibility. Suddenly, her entire body trembled, as if she sensed Jiang Fan's fiery gaze. She quickly tucked the hairpin back into her bosom. Instead, she used a low-grade, dustless talisman, pressing it to her chest. Senior Sister Wu, you seem to have acquired a new treasure. What you just took out, is it because it can grant invisibility? How effective is it? Jiang Fan's voice drifted out from the air ahead of her. Wu Manyu promptly covered her chest, shouting delicately, Jiang Fan, I'm warning you. Don't even think about coveting it or I'll fight you to the death. Jiang Fan was speechless. I was just asking. Are you guarding against me overzealously? Wu Manyu laughed angrily. Before my pocket full of space magic treasures started mysteriously disappearing. I too thought there was no need to guard against you excessively. But now, no precaution is enough. Stop rambling. Follow our footsteps closely. Lose us and don't blame us for trickery. With that said, she fell silent, leaving a trail of footprints on the ground. Ren Guhong's footprints lay beside hers. But following footprints wasn't foolproof. What if the road ahead became firm and couldn't retain footprints? Or if they deliberately took to the sky, where would Jiang Fan find prints then? Little Killen, can you sense any treasures ahead? Little Killen, peeking through the gaps of Jiang Fan's cloak, immediately sensed the treasures on Wu Manyu's person. Cried out in a small voice, wow, so dazzling, she has so many treasures. In the darkness, she's practically glowing like the sun. Holy, this woman, only 2 months apart, and where did she pick up so many treasures? Last time, didn't he clear her out all at once? It's a pity she guards against me too tightly. Her belongings are tough to borrow now. Shaking his head, he decisively continued after her. With the little Killen monitoring Wu Manyu, no matter how frenetically they dashed forward, no matter how they circled routes, Jiang Fan followed them unhurriedly. On a rocky outcrop, Ren Guhong glanced at Jiang Fan's footprints not far behind. He furrowed his brows and sent a covert message to those nearby in an enigmatic tone. This kid's got skills, huh? Even now, he hasn't lost track. He had deliberately led them across a firm stretch earlier to test Jiang Fan's response, partially to assess his skill, partially hoping he'd lose trail, giving them an excuse to ditch him. Unexpectedly, he clung tightly onto their trail without missing a beat. Wu Manyu's response came quietly and unimpressed. I told you not to bring him along. Now you can't shake him off even if you want to. Ren Guhong was unfazed. Never mind, let him follow if he must. With his level of skill, he won't be able to snatch much. Before long, the group reached the far edges of the 8th layer. There the terrain was rugged, entirely barren. Under the dim lighting, it appeared jet black. From afar, it resembled rows of adjacent grave mounds. Ren Guhong and Wu Manyu navigated adeptly to an unremarkable hill. At first glance, the hill was entirely covered in random stones. No entrances could be discerned. But when Ren Guhong leapt and knocked off a small stone on the rock face, a faint red light appeared. The source of the red light turned out to be a keyhole. Ren Guhong's voice brimmed with excitement. Who would have thought amidst the countless searches of the 8th layer, a small hidden chamber still remained? Wu Manyu added smugly. It's all thanks to me. I learned from an old disciple's notes from 200 years ago about his discovery here. Though limited by his strength, he couldn't delve deeper. Even with just some minor exploration, he benefited greatly, ultimately breaking through to the 9th layer of core formation. Jiang Fan stroked his chin. If that's the case, where did you get the key? From your previous conversation, it seemed like obtaining it was dangerously challenging. Ren Guhong didn't hide the truth. His tone turned slightly solemn. We snatched it from Xianxia. We set a trap and bound her. Only then did we manage to seize the key. Wu Manyu spoke pridefully. That Xianxia, she's usually so arrogant, always looking down on everyone, relying solely on her prowess. Finally, she suffered major humiliation this time, huh? HMPH. Jiang Fan frowned. Something was bothering him. Did Xianxia know the key unlocked this secret chamber? If so, why hadn't she come herself? If not, why was she carrying the key? His eyes subtly narrowed. Jiang Fan discreetly retrieved a fragrant corpse pill, taking advantage of the duo's distraction as they prepared the key. He stealthily dug a small pit near the entrance with his toe, then buried the fragrant corpse pill within. Lastly, he carefully covered it with dirt. At the same moment, click, as the blood-red key slid into the keyhole, the stone door opened. A beam of blood-red light shot forth, radiant amidst the gloomy space. Too conspicuous, quick, get inside. Ren Guhong's expression shifted, urgently urging the others to enter. While speaking, he decisively closed the door, regardless of whether the others made it inside. Jiang Fan leapt forward instantaneously, rushing through at high speed. Wu Manyu activated her space magic treasure, teleporting in. Boom! Just as they entered, the door shut with a thunderous sound. Wu Manyu cursed angrily. "Are you trying to keep all the riches for yourself? You nearly shut us out." "Enough complaining," Jiang Fan's voice echoed. His gaze grew solemn as he looked ahead. "Are you sure this is a secret chamber, and not a tomb?" In the crimson glow, what lay before them were rows upon rows of memorial tablets. On both sides of the secret chamber, countless holes were chiseled. Inside, various sizes of spirit tablets were displayed. The materials of the spirit tablets were quite high-grade. Nonetheless, most were decayed beyond recognition. Some had even completely crumbled into dust. It was worth noting. The wood in that hidden space near the Great Wall, despite enduring the erosion of 1,000 years, had only become incredibly fragile. The spirit tablets before him must have existed for even longer than a millennium. At this moment, Jiang Fan noticed a spirit tablet that was relatively well preserved. He activated his eyesight to examine the inscriptions on it. At first glance, he couldn't help but be slightly startled. The writing on it was extremely distorted. It was neither from the human clan nor the demon race. Instead, it resembled the inscriptions on the Hell Beast bronze artifact. He instinctively asked, "Senior Sister Wu, what kind of script is engraved here? Did that notebook mention it?" If there were any clues, they could break the code of the inscriptions on the bronze artifact. "Do you think I'd tell you?" Her mocking hum echoed from afar. Jiang Fan glanced at the footprints left in the dust on the ground. The two of them had already gone deeper. Jiang Fan had no choice but to suppress the questions rising in his heart. He carefully stepped on their footprints and followed cautiously. The secret chamber was narrow and winding. Twisting and turning, it was much like a coiled mosquito coil. Along the way, the stone walls were carved with rows and rows of spirit tablets. Who carved these spirit tablets here? And when were they chiseled out? Jiang Fan's expression revealed a contemplative look. What kind of place was the underground world of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion? Why were there traces of activities by beings from other races? Isn't this supposed to be human clan territory? Just then, he suddenly noticed that the footprints of the two halted abruptly. A surge of caution filled his heart, and he flashed to the side, clinging to the stone wall on guard. Focusing his gaze, the narrow secret chamber ahead suddenly opened up into a wider space. Faint streaks of green ghostly light flickered in the dimness, appearing eerily strange. Jiang Fan scanned the footprints of the two. It seemed as though they were wary of something, hesitant to move recklessly. Jiang Fan decided it was best to stay put as well. But as his thoughts turned, he pondered deeply. "Little Killin, where are they now?" The little Killin replied. "They've already gone beyond the chamber ahead, heading deeper inside." So the two had deliberately feigned hesitation here to deceive Jiang Fan into not advancing. The way these two cooperate so seamlessly, there must be some method they're using to communicate secretly without my notice. Jiang Fan mused silently. Since they were playing tricks, Jiang Fan wouldn't hold back either. He immediately retrieved the purple sword. Under the effect of the dustless talisman, anything Jiang Fan touched also entered an invisibility state. He performed the sword control technique, and was surprised to find that the dustless talisman even concealed the fluctuations of spiritual power. This dustless talisman truly was a valuable artifact, far more practical than the turtle breath cloak. If the chance arose, he absolutely had to acquire more. Guiding the flying sword cautiously 3 feet ahead of his body, and moving toward the spacious chamber ahead. With a passing glance, his eyes widened in shock. This chamber resembled a communal dining hall. Stone benches and stone chairs were scattered around. On a chair in the corner, someone, or something, was sitting, its back turned toward him. A skeletal figure resembling but not entirely human. Its form was strikingly similar to human beings. However, its skull had 2 sharp horns. It resembled the humanoid forms of the demon race. Jiang Fan cautiously moved closer. He observed that the skeleton was slumped over the table, its hands cupped as though holding something. Whatever had been in its palms was no longer there. Considering how some senior disciples had gained treasures and broken through to the 9th layer of core formation, he supposed it must have been taken by one of the senior disciples. Based on this assumption, Wu Manyu and Ren Guheng didn't bother inspecting the skeleton, opting instead to head straight into the deepest area. Clearly, there was something even more significant inside. They didn't want to waste time on a skeleton that had already been scavenged. Jiang Fan, however, pondered quietly. This skeleton, unmarred by the passage of time, must have been an exceptionally powerful being in life. The object it held, even after endless ages, likely retained miraculous effects. If there are any remaining items, they must be extraordinary as well. With this thought, he took out a strand of heavenly mountain silk and used it to wrap around the skeleton from a distance. Then he retreated further, ready to flee at a moment's notice, and gave the silk a tug. The skeleton didn't budge. This skeleton is quite heavy. Even for a demon race skeleton, this weight is unusual. Activating his physique's strength, he pulled hard. Crash, the skeleton immediately disintegrated. After all, it had been lifeless for over 1,000 years. Just like the wood from that secret space, it appeared untouched but crumbled easily when exerted upon. Seeing no traps nearby, Jiang Fan finally moved closer and began searching through the pile of bones. Aside from some fabric scraps from decayed clothing, there was nothing else to find. Clearly, the skeleton had been thoroughly scavenged by that senior disciple back then. He couldn't help but feel some disappointment, but suddenly, he sensed something was amiss, taking a few steps back. He re-examined the skeleton and its surroundings. Eventually, he noticed something peculiar. When the heavy skeleton fell apart, the stone bench it had been sitting on seemed to have risen slightly. Could there be something underneath the bench that's lifting it up? Jiang Fan used the heavenly mountain silk to wrap around the stone bench. From a distance, he pulled the bench down, revealing its base. A burst of blood-red light shot out from within the bench's base. There really was something hidden. Jiang Fan moved closer to inspect. Underneath the bench, he found an elastic, red, gel-like substance. When the heavy skeleton fell, the gel-like substance had pushed the stone bench upward, simultaneously. Within the gel-like substance, Jiang Fan faintly saw a black scripture scroll. The scripture bore Buddhist path Sanskrit inscriptions. Jiang Fan looked astonished. Why would an ancient tomb of another race contain items from the human clan's Buddhism? What was even more bizarre was that the scripture scroll was black. Buddhism was majestic and sacred, upright and luminous. Its artifacts and texts were typically gold, white, red, or other bold colors. A black scripture stood in stark contrast to the typical style of Buddhism. Clang, suddenly. From the other end of the chamber came the sound of a long, narrow passage leading deeper inward. Intense combat erupted within. Jiang Fan didn't have time to study the black Buddhist scripture. He hastily threw it into the heavenly thunder stone. After confirming there was nothing else near the skeleton, he restored the stone bench. Then he soared forward using sword control technique. Sizzle, just as he rounded a corner. A bolt of thunder arc surged toward him. Jiang Fan reacted quickly, grabbing it and channeling his internal thunder power to neutralize it. Focusing his gaze, within the narrow tunnel ahead, a blood-soaked humanoid creature with sharp teeth and horns on its head was viciously battling two wisps of seemingly empty air. From the air emerged Thunder Path and Fire Dao Divine skills. Each strike landed heavily on the corpse, eliciting painful howls, which only enraged its ferocity even more. Its clawed hands, adorned with black fingernails, swiped fiercely. The stone walls on the side were torn apart like soft tofu. Jiang Fan's eyelid twitched. The power of that swipe rivaled the 9th layer of core formation. He shifted his gaze to the blood corpse's rear. Near the corner ahead, a slightly broader chamber could faintly be seen. It seemed that Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu had startled the blood corpse when approaching that chamber. Years ago, that senior disciple likely encountered the chamber, but fled from the blood corpse out of desperation. Jiang Fan stole another glance at the two invisible presences fighting fiercely against the blood corpse. His lips curled into a subtle smirk. You two can take your time fighting. I'll see what treasures there are first. Silently, he guided his flying sword and glided over their heads. The intense battle between Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu left them completely unaware. The two were rapidly conversing through voice transmission. Wu Manyu, did you lie to me? Didn't you say the blood corpse described in the notes was at the Jidan 8th layer? Now it's already at the 9th layer of core formation. Ren Guheng painfully threw out one precious thunder talisman after another, exchanged with his merits. Wu Manyu, equally distressed, unleashed one fire attribute magical treasure after another, saying, "What good would lying to you do me? Most likely, this blood corpse used the dragon heart blood lotus to enhance its strength." Ren Guheng knew he couldn't blame Wu Manyu. After all, over 200 years had passed. Who could guarantee what changes had occurred inside? He frowned and said, "We really shouldn't have listened to you and abandoned junior brother Jiang just now. We should have brought him along. With him sharing the attacks, it would have been a bit easier for us. We could even have had him lure away the blood corpse." Throwing out thunder talisman after thunder talisman was truly painful for him. Yet this blood corpse had boundless strength and thick skin. Immune to spells, unafraid of blades or spears, only fearful of these pure yang items of the world. Wu Manyu also felt a twinge of regret. That kid has countless tricks up his sleeve. Maybe he really could have handled the blood corpse. But it's too late to say anything now. Let's both stop holding back and use our trump cards quickly to kill the blood corpse and snatch the dragon heart blood lotus. Otherwise, if that kid figures it out and catches up to split the dragon heart blood lotus, will you give it to him or not? Hearing this, Ren Guheng agonizingly took out a long blade wrapped in lightning. Wu Manyu also unwillingly retrieved a hairpin, black flames flowing within it. At the same time, Jiang Fan silently rounded a corner. Sure enough, he spotted a small chamber about 3 meters wide. This was already the end of the tunnel. The 3 walls were incredibly damp. From the ceiling of the chamber, water dripped periodically, pooling on the ground into a small puddle about 1/2 meter in diameter. Such rich spiritual energy! Jiang Fan immediately sensed that the dripping water was abnormally brimming with spiritual energy. This pool of water was enough for a martial artist at the early stage of core formation to break through one level. However, the spiritual liquid in this puddle was very likely consumed by the blood corpse, making it unsuitable for consumption. Suddenly, he noticed a palm-sized green lotus leaf floating in the puddle. Beside the leaf stood a solitary lotus pod. The 10 lotus holes were connected, vaguely forming the outline of a dragon. From each hole emitted intermittent blood-red light. Though blood-red in color, it didn't give off a sinister or terrifying feeling. On the contrary, it made his blood churn and gave him an inexplicable warmth. Jiang Fan's eyes lit up. This must be what Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu are looking for. How could he hesitate? He immediately and expertly took out a sharp jade tool. For such heavenly treasures, touching directly with one's hands was often inadvisable. When in doubt, it's always better to handle it with caution, to avoid damaging the spiritual objects, which would be a grave loss. He swiftly pried out the lotus seeds, carefully placing each into a jade bottle. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, just as he packed the 9th seed. A pained howl suddenly cut off. The blood corpse collapsed with a crash. It had been slain. 2 rapid wind-breaking sounds approached swiftly. Jiang Fan regretfully glanced at the final lotus seed. Without hesitation, he finished packing up the items. He silently flew his sword over their heads, slipping away. The dragon heart blood lotus. There really is a dragon heart blood lotus. We've struck it rich. Wait. Why is there only 1 lotus seed left? Ren Guheng's excited face instantly froze. Wu Manyu's expression also changed. Could the blood corpse have eaten it? Thinking of how the blood corpse's strength increased to the 9th layer of core formation. Both of their faces turned grim. Damn this blood corpse, wasting the dragon heart blood lotus. If I had 5 lotus seeds, I could break through the bottleneck of the 9th layer and reach 9th layer perfection of core formation. Ren Guheng stomped on the ground in frustration. Wu Manyu bit her silver teeth in frustration, muttering, "With 2 seeds, I could have broken through from Jiden 8th layer. But this single seed, it's simply not enough." The two had spent immense effort, using up numerous talismans and magical artifacts, even resorting to expensive trump cards, and in the end only 1 seed. Ren Guheng sighed heavily, annoyed. "Just 1 remaining, what good is it?" That's what he said. But the way he looked at the lotus seed was burning with desire. This seed, for a martial artist at the middle stage of core formation, could completely help break through a layer. Its value was self-evident. Not only could it recoup this trip's losses, but they could also profit greatly. The only problem was how to divide it. Wu Manyu's charming eyes turned as she sighed softly. "This time it's all thanks to Brother Ren. Otherwise I might have been killed by the blood corpse. How could I possibly fight you for it? This lotus seed, I'll let Brother Ren have it." Ren Guheng pondered briefly and replied, "All right, I'll sell it later and we'll split it evenly. I can't let you suffer a loss either." Wu Manyu smiled sweetly. I'll follow Brother Ren's arrangements. Ren Gyuheng immediately pulled out a jade magic artifact and carefully separated the lotus seed. But the moment it was extracted, a flash of sharpness appeared in Wu Manyu's eyes. Suddenly she flicked her sleeve. A streak of green light shot toward Ren Gyuheng's back, unexpectedly. Ren Gyuheng reflexively blocked it. In his hand, as if prepared beforehand, was a turtle-patterned magic artifact. The green light entered the artifact and was sealed within. Looking closely, it was a writhing green venomous snake. Junior Sister Wu, playing this kind of trick on me isn't very kind, is it? Ren Gyuheng turned around with a half-smile. There's a rumor that those who team up with you either perish or end up paying a heavy price. I guess I believe it now. Wu Manyu's beautiful face shifted slightly. In a flash, she regained her coquettish demeanor, smiling enchantingly. Brother Ren, I was just joking with you. Ren Gyuheng's face turned cold. With a squeeze of his palm on the turtle-patterned artifact, the small snake inside shattered into pulp. He said frostily, "Considering you provided the intel, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, in a place like this, no one would know if I killed you." Wu Manyu's smile stiffened. Her heart was filled with resentment. This trip was a complete waste. That damn blood corpse, that wretched blood corpse, that detestable blood corpse. It was all the blood corpse's fault for ruining the dragon heart blood lotus. Fuming on the way back, she viciously kicked the blood corpse's groin. Crack, it wasn't an egg that broke. It was someone nearby clenching their legs involuntarily, causing a stone to fall from the wall and make a noise. Who's there? Wu Manyu's gaze turned cold, staring toward the sound. Ren Gyuheng squinted his eyes. Junior brother Jiang. Jiang Fan flew his sword back toward the cafeteria, then walked back on foot, pretending to have just arrived. It's me. Brother Ren, Senior Sister Wu, did you find anything inside? Ren Gyuheng shook his head. No, it's all eaten by the blood corpse. Is that so? Jiang Fan feigned disbelief. Let me take a look myself. He left footprints heading inside, but returned shortly after, furiously stabbing the blood corpse's body repeatedly with his sword. Seeing this, Wu Manyu's gloomy mood lifted a bit, chuckling. You little rascal, even you have times when you're at a loss. Looks like this trip wasn't so unprofitable for me after all. Watching this usually triumphant rascal now look so aggrieved, her mood brightened considerably. No amount of money can buy Jiang Fan's misfortune. Ha ha ha, Jiang Fan sheathed his sword, speaking seriously. Brother Ren, Senior Sister Wu. Did the blood corpse really finish all the lotus seeds, leaving not a single one? Ren Gyuheng scratched his nose. Suddenly he felt a slight pang of guilt. This new junior brother freshly joined the heavenly mechanism pavilion, already witnessing the treachery of human hearts. Getting his first hard lesson in worldly cruelty, truly pitiful. Of course, pathetic as it may be, Ren Gyuheng would never share the lotus seeds. The blood corpse was his kill, and he used so many talismans, even his ultimate weapon. Why should he split it with Jiang Fan, whom there really are none left? We're both rather upset about it. Ren Gyuheng said casually, without a hint of shame. Wu Manyu naturally didn't dare offend Ren Gyuheng too much. She pursed her lips and didn't expose his lie. Jiang Fan said helplessly, All right, at least we found the key for free. Let's hurry and leave this place then. The group nodded. Ren Gyuheng kept an eye on the footprints on the ground as they walked. He noticed Jiang Fan's footprints indeed came all the way from the dining hall. It was clear Jiang Fan had been too frightened to move earlier. Ren Gyuheng shook his head secretly. I really don't understand what Wu Manyu is wary of when it comes to this boy. A simple little trick, and he's already fallen for it. At that moment, he noticed the skeleton in the dining hall had been shattered by Jiang Fan. His gaze flickered slightly. Junior brother Jiang, did you find anything on the skeleton? If they hadn't been in such a hurry to get the dragon blood lotus earlier, he would have certainly given that skeleton a thorough inspection. Wu Manyu curiously stepped forward and searched through the pile of bones, but she didn't find anything. Her gaze also shifted toward Jiang Fan. That senior disciple had already scavenged everything clean. Besides bones, there's nothing left here for us. Jiang Fan sighed. At this, Ren Gyuheng and Wu Manyu didn't feel too disappointed. After all, someone else had already searched the area. The chance of missing treasures was slim to none. All right, let's leave this place then. All these spirit tablets are unsettlingly eerie. Ren Gyuheng stepped lightly as he led the two out of the secret chamber, outside the stone door. Ren Gyuheng clasped his hands and asked, What do the two of you plan to do next? Jiang Fan looked around at the air and said, Senior Sister Wu, do you have any other secret realms? I'd be glad to accompany you. Swoosh, 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 Wu Manyu instantly darted away from Jiang Fan, snapping, "Stay away from me. Nothing good ever happens when I'm near you." Jiang Fan looked utterly innocent. "You came back empty-handed this time, and you're blaming me for it somehow." Wu Manyu was momentarily speechless in frustration. This time, Jiang Fan had surprised her by not causing any chaos. She was almost unaccustomed to it. "Either way, just stay far away from me, HMPH." Her voice grew fainter as she stormed off into the distance. Ren Gyuheng clasped his hands together and said, "In that case, this is where the three of us part ways." But just then, the ground suddenly shook. No, it wasn't the ground itself trembling. Their senses were hit by some kind of force, causing an intense reverberation. "This isn't good," Ren Gyuheng muttered under his breath. Whatever it was, running immediately seemed like the safest option. Jiang Fan reacted even faster, instantly activating Cloud Shadow. Yet, the moment he took to the air, he was yanked back by an unimaginable force and slammed hard into the ground. Ren Gyuheng and Wu Manyu also let out miserable groans. Evidently, they had all been caught. Not one of them escaped. Buzz, a resonating shockwave, surged up from below. A massive array, glowing faintly with earthy yellow light and spanning 10 meters in diameter, began to shimmer beneath them. As the array activated, the three felt their bodies being sucked by an overwhelming force. They couldn't even move a single finger. The dustless talismans pinned to their chests were the first to crumble under the suction, peeling off their bodies one after another. Their figures were revealed in full. A heavy gravity formation. "The array, Xianxia, it's you." This array could only have been set up by Xianxia, who specialized in such formations. Ren Gyuheng scanned the surroundings and shouted. Whoosh, a sound of breaking air echoed from afar. It was none other than a hovering jade phoenix chair. Sculpted with intricate spirit-gathering arrays, the chair was surrounded by swirling spiritual energy. Its carvings were exquisite, with 9 vivid and lifelike phoenixes that seemed as though they might take flight at any moment. And on the jade chair sat a tall woman adorned in a black dress. Her slender legs crossed lazily, swinging lightly, occasionally revealing a glimpse of fair white skin. Her feet were clad in black knee-high boots, their lustrous glow piercing even the dim underground world. She reclined against the jade chair. Dark, sleek hair cascaded carelessly down her back. Her delicate oval-shaped face bore finely chiseled features. In her right hand, she held a white jade ruler, rhythmically tapping it against her shapely and pillar-like legs. Her left hand cradled her cheek as she watched them impassively. She spoke in a cold, condescending voice. "The blood corpse inside must have caused you quite some trouble, huh?" "What?" Ren Gyuheng's expression darkened. "How did you know there was a blood corpse inside?" Xianxia gazed down at him and replied, "Because Wu Manyu's journal was something I deliberately let her obtain. And the news that the key was in my possession was something I intentionally let you learn." "What?" Ren Gyuheng immediately realized. He shouted in anger, "So it was all your plan. You knew about this place all along, knew there was a blood corpse here, and knew the dangers. So you manipulated it all, using others as pawns to retrieve the dragon blood lotus for you. And you only needed to set the array outside the door, waiting for them to come out." Wu Manyu was also furious. She snarled angrily, "Xianxia, you used us." For someone as proudly clever as Wu Manyu, nothing was more intolerable than being used. Xianxia looked down at her with an air of superiority. "Third rule of the underground world's creed, avoid greed. If you weren't greedy, you wouldn't have fallen into my trap." She leapt down gracefully, her lithe figure landing lightly. Hands behind her back, she stood over the 3 incapacitated figures. "Hand over the dragon blood lotus." Ren Gyuheng's eyes narrowed as he spoke. "The blood corpse already ate the entire dragon blood lotus." "We didn't get any of it." Xianxia shook her head. She pulled out a faintly glowing green lotus seed from her pocket. It was dry and withered, but unmistakably a dragon blood lotus seed. "We'll see about that." Holding the seed between 2 slender jade fingers, she stepped closer to Ren Gyuheng. The dried dragon blood lotus suddenly gleamed with a cyan light. It condensed into the symbol for 1. The dragon blood lotus seeds can sense each other. They can even detect their exact numbers. Lying won't help you. Xianxia remained expressionless as she retrieved another dragon blood lotus seed from his pocket. "No," Ren Gyuheng tried to stop her, but he couldn't lift a finger, watching helplessly as the dragon blood lotus seed was taken away. In this venture, he'd truly been played for a fool, doing someone else's dirty work for nothing. "Brother Ren," Jiang Fan shouted furiously, "you said there were no dragon blood lotus seeds left, didn't you?" This is my first time visiting the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion and venturing with you, Brother Ren, and I end up betrayed like this. How could you bear to deceive me like this? Ren Guheng forced an awkward smile and replied sheepishly, Junior Brother Jiang as your senior. I've only just managed to break even myself. If there were any extras, I'd certainly have shared them with you. Jiang Fan coldly shot back 2 words. Shameless. Ren Guheng's face burned with embarrassment and he didn't dare utter another word. Xianxia, still expressionless, held the dragon blood lotus seed as she approached Wu Manyu. No need to test me. The dragon blood lotus seed was indeed eaten by that damned blood corpse, leaving only one behind. Wu Manyu snorted. Xianxia stared at the unresponsive seed in her hand, visibly disappointed. Only one left after all, abruptly. Her gaze landed on Jiang Fan as she handled the seed and walked toward him. Jiang Fan grew uneasy. He had stored all the remaining seeds in the Heavenly Thunder Stone. With the space storage device in place, they shouldn't be detectable, right? But to be safe, he quickly tried to absolve himself. Senior Sister Yi, I'm just a passerby. Ren Guheng also said, Xianxia, stop wasting time. Even Senior Sister Wu couldn't get the lotus seed. What can a new disciple like Junior Brother Jiang do? Since you've taken the dragon blood lotus, just let us go. I admit defeat. Wu Manyu also angrily said. Xianxia, did you hear that? Stop wasting time? Xianxia calmly replied. I don't need your guidance on doing things. Moreover, this new disciple is quite remarkable. He nearly escaped my array. Much stronger than you all. Ren Guheng showed a hint of surprise. Junior Brother Jiang's escape skills are that good. In front of the gravity array, he almost broke free. Wu Manyu snorted. More than just good. Can you believe he escaped from the hands of a 9th layer of core formation demon priest with just 2nd level of core formation? Ren Guheng was greatly surprised. This Junior Brother Jiang is indeed quite extraordinary. At this moment, Xianxia had already arrived in front of Jiang Fan. She looked at the lotus seed in her hand. The lotus seed was very calm. No sign of other lotus seeds could be sensed. This slightly disappointed her. It seems there's really only one. Jiang Fan also secretly breathed a sigh of relief, saying, Senior Sister Yi, I said earlier, I'm just a passing new disciple. How could I possibly have? He opened his mouth but couldn't speak. Wu Manyu's eyes gradually widened. Ren Guheng was also stunned on the spot. Even Xianxia's aloof face showed a slight surprise, because the silent lotus seed was glowing. You have the dragon blood lotus? Ren Guheng looked bewildered. Where did Jiang Fan get the dragon blood lotus from? Could it be that, like Xianxia, he also had an old lotus seed? Wu Manyu had a bad premonition in her heart. She stared at the number slowly forming on the lotus seed. Very soon, the number emerged. 9. Exactly the missing 9 from that dragon blood lotus. Wu Manyu's pupils contracted sharply. She immediately understood and screamed in anger. Bastard, I was wondering why you were so obedient this time. Turns out while we were fighting the blood corpse, you sneaked in and picked the lotus seeds, leaving only one. Xianxia, let me go. I'm going to kill this bastard. Wu Manyu was so furious that her chest was heaving violently, shouting in madness. Ren Guheng, after being stunned for quite a while, finally reacted violently, angrily said, Jiang Fan, you hid 9 lotus seeds yourself. I just picked up one you didn't want. Yet you accuse me of deceiving you, calling me shameless. Who's really shameless here? And you had the nerve to ask if I hid one, have you no conscience? I ask you, while Wu Manyu and I were fighting the blood corpse, you went to pick the spoils. Do you have any conscience? He finally understood. Why Wu Manyu was so wary of Jiang Fan, because this kid is truly something else. How laughable it was that he thought Jiang Fan was harmless, a reliable junior brother. Cough, cough, Jiang Fan coughed heavily twice. His face turned red with embarrassment. Brother Ren, Senior Sister Wu, listen to my defense explanation. I didn't steal the lotus seeds. I was worried that your battle with the blood corpse might accidentally damage the dragon blood lotus. So I adopted protective harvesting measures, planning to secretly share them with you after leaving the underground world. Who knew it would lead to such a misunderstanding? Tui, the sound of 2 spits in unison. Even Xianxia was dazed for a moment. He actually managed to screw over 2 senior disciples this badly? Key was, he also kept them in the dark. If it weren't for her sudden action, this might have been kept hidden forever. You really are surprising. Xianxia looked down at Jiang Fan from above. She said, However, thank you for bringing me the remaining 9 lotus seeds. She squatted down and was about to search Jiang Fan's body. Jiang Fan quickly said, Senior Sister Yi, don't search. Can't I take it out myself? Xianxia ignored him completely. She directly reached into his arms, saying calmly, "Don't worry, I'm just taking the lotus seeds. I'm not interested in your other things." But as soon as she reached in, she retracted as if electrocuted. Her index finger had been bitten by something, drawing crimson blood. Xianxia frowned, instinctively stepping back. "What's in your arms? Is it poisonous?" Jiang Fan calmly observed her retreating direction. When he noticed she was less than a meter from a seemingly inconspicuous clump of dirt, he suddenly shouted in a low voice, "Explode!" Bang, the fragrant corpse pill buried underneath exploded instantly. The not-so-weak shockwave destroyed part of the array's inscriptions etched on the ground. This rendered the array ineffective on the spot. Jiang Fan and the others immediately regained their mobility, but the effects of the fragrant corpse pill went beyond that. The red mist that exploded out quickly engulfed Xianxia not far away. Who would have expected that Jiang Fan had a trick up his sleeve before even entering? Xianxia was caught off guard. Although she dodged in time, she still inhaled a small amount of the red mist. Suddenly feeling dizzy, the scene before her appeared doubled. She realized something was wrong, stumbling toward the jade-carved phoenix chair, shouting authoritatively, "How dare you plot against me?" "You'll get yours," before she finished. Everything went black. It was Jiang Fan who pulled out a massive wolf fang club about 5 or 6 meters long and smashed it onto her head mercilessly. Bang! The already groggy Xianxia couldn't withstand such an impact. She instantly blacked out and fell to the ground. Before fainting, she unwillingly said, "You wait for me." The response she received was yet another blow from the wolf fang club, rendering her completely unconscious. Jiang Fan was still not satisfied. His face darkened as he went and kicked her in the stomach. "Serves you right for meddling." Originally, he could have quietly dealt with the dragon blood lotus without anyone knowing. This woman made a move, exposing him outright, causing him to provoke both Wu Manyu and Ren Guhang simultaneously. The former was manageable, being an old rival didn't matter. The latter, however, was one of the 4 legendary prodigies of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Not someone easy to offend, is she? After knocking Xianxia out, Jiang Fan decisively put away the wolf fang club, jumped onto the jade-carved phoenix chair without looking back. He directly stored away the jade chair, snorting, "Consider it compensation from you." Then, not daring to meet the murderous gazes of Ren Guhang and Wu Manyu, he directly used Cloud Shadow, disappearing from their sight. "Bastard, I'm gonna fight you." Wu Manyu frantically got up. Ignoring her messy hair and dress, she chased madly after the trail of Thunderbolt. Ren Guhang was so enraged, his chest was on the verge of exploding. Damn it, being played so thoroughly by a newcomer. Outrageous! He took the dragon blood lotus back from Xianxia's hand and decisively chased after Jiang Fan. Speaking of Jiang Fan, he instantly moved to the space transmission array leading to the next layer, directly entering the 9th layer. As soon as he entered, a dense Yin Qi hit him in the face, much denser than the 8th layer's Yin Qi. Staying too long could harm the body. No wonder the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion set a time limit for each exploration. This place is not suitable for long-term human habitation. Suddenly, he noticed a significant disturbance at the end of his line of sight. He instantly activated his movement technique and rushed over. Only when he got closer did he find out that there were people frantically attacking a pitch-black orb. Huge amounts of Yin Qi were erupting from the orb. They were trying to force the Yin Qi back into the orb through attacks, but the effect was minimal. The orb was growing bigger and releasing more Yin Qi. Only then did Jiang Fan realize this orb was a spatial portal, and those besieging the Yin Qi were none other than Shang Shikyu, Jian Linyuan, and Leng Qingzhu. Leading them was a plainly dressed, slender woman in her 30s. She should be their master. Also Jiang Fan's yet-to-be-seen master, Yunyang Master. At this moment, they were struggling to deal with the Yin Qi. Several of them had cultivated Thunder Path and Fire Path techniques. But these weren't their main cultivation techniques, so their power was not particularly strong. The effects on Yin Qi were very limited. "Senior Brother Jian, what do we do now? We've used up all our talismans. Relying on just our cultivation techniques, we can't force all this Yin Qi back. If the Yin Qi in here leaks out and makes it uninhabitable on the 9th layer, we'll be in serious trouble." Leng Qingzhu was drenched in fragrant sweat. Her hands didn't dare to pause for even a moment. Her face was full of anxiety as she spoke. One of the members, with a composed expression, said, "Why hasn't Li Shangyu arrived yet?" "I already contacted him earlier. He said he'd be here soon." Li Shangyu was another one of the 4 mythical prodigies. The team he led, Wuji, was currently the strongest team around. The weakest of his subordinates were in the Jiden 8th layer. As their leader, he had even reached 9th layer perfection in core formation. In terms of cultivation realm, he was comparable to the 4 vice pavilion masters. However, constrained by his relatively shorter years of cultivation, his mastery of techniques, experience, and other aspects were far inferior to the old pavilion masters who had been stuck at 9th layer perfection for decades. But he was still far above most stewards. On top of that, his team included several 9th layer and 8th layer core formation cultivators. The power of their 7-man group was terrifying, no weaker than the middle-tier or lower-tier sects of the 9-sect alliance. If they were willing to act, it wouldn't be too difficult to block the Yin Qi in front of them. Jiang Linyuan shook his head slightly and said, "They won't come. Once the Yin Qi is blocked, this hidden space will inevitably become inaccessible for exploration. They won't do something that yields no benefit. Their promise was just a way to placate you and brush you off." Hearing this, everyone's hearts sank. Jiang Linyuan turned to Yunyang at the front and calmly said, "Master, we must retreat. Continuing to fight is just a futile effort. We're simply wasting our spiritual power for nothing. When the Yin Qi fully erupts and we don't even have enough spiritual power left to flee, things will get really dire." Yunyang nodded. "Retreat. If the pavilion master holds us accountable, I'll take the blame." Xianxia, looking guilty, said, "I'll be responsible for my own actions. I was the one who shattered the Yin marrow. I'll bear the consequences myself." Yunyang said impassively, "We'll discuss it when we return." "Prepare to withdraw?" The disciples nodded. Just as they were about to cease their techniques, a sudden voice sounded behind them. "Why don't you let me give it a try?" Before they had a chance to react, a massive lightning-formed palm, about 10 feet wide, swept over their heads and slapped the entrance to the spatial fissure. Wherever it passed, the Yin Qi dissipated like snow meeting a raging fire. Without the surge of Yin Qi, the spatial entrance gradually shrank until it completely closed, disappearing entirely. What a domineering thunder path technique! More accurately, this thunder path technique has been cultivated with remarkable depth. Except for the pavilion master, we've never seen anyone display such a powerful thunder Dao divine power. They murmured in astonishment, all staring in shock at the person who had made the move from behind them. At first sight, Jiang Linyuan and Leng Qingzhu's faces lit up with joy. Even Yunyang looked surprised as she glanced over. She examined the unfamiliar young man standing before them and asked, "Whose disciple are you? Such exceptional mastery of the thunder Dao divine power." Leng Qingzhu exclaimed excitedly, "Master, he's..." She got halfway through her sentence when Xianxia tugged her sleeve. Xianxia flashed a mischievous smile and made a shushing gesture. Then he signaled the other 6 with a glance as well. Leng Qingzhu immediately understood. Were they planning to mess with their master? Well, it did seem amusing, so she quickly changed her tune. "He's a friend we met at the 9-sect alliance." Yunyang frowned and said, "Then why are you so excited? I thought you were about to say he was my newly accepted disciple Jiang Fan. Got my hopes up for nothing." She only knew from Xianxia that her newly admitted disciple was named Jiang Fan, a member of the Green Cloud Sect with a cultivation at the 6th layer of core formation. Frankly speaking, it wasn't bad at all. After all, Leng Qingzhu had only recently broken through to the 6th layer herself. Jiang Fan starting off at the 6th layer outpaced the foundations of many senior disciples. But compared to the boy in front of her, Jiang Fan was far inferior. In the underground world, yang-oriented divine skills were highly valuable. They were even more critical than cultivation realms. With the young man's formidable thunder Dao divine power, he could undoubtedly excel in the underground world. This was something Jiang Fan could never compare to. "Who is your master?" Yunyang asked enviously. "Who's so fortunate to take you as their disciple?" Jiang Fan rubbed his nose, speechless as he looked at Leng Qingzhu and the others who were holding back their laughter. "Are you guys really going to trick the master? And why are you dragging me into it? Should he play along or tell the truth?" Xianxia's eyes twinkled as he said, "Master, his name is Fan Jiang, and he's the new disciple of Deputy Pavilion Master Chen." Yunyang suddenly understood, saying, "That explains it. Deputy Pavilion Master Chen has always had an eye for talent. Xianxia was someone he picked out from a group of seemingly unpromising disciples. She ended up leading the pack, became one of the 4 mythical prodigies, and was the first to break through to 9th layer perfection in core formation. And now, he's found Fan Jiang, a Thunder Dao Divine Power Master in great success. Truly admirable." Jiang Fan's mouth twitched slightly. The disciples had ganged up to toy with their master. Fine, whatever. If punishments were handed out later, it would be this bunch of unruly disciples getting disciplined anyway. Yunyang looked at Jiang Fan and said, "Fan Jiang, you've done us a great service. I'll give you a gift as thanks." Jiang Fan was about to refuse, but vaguely sensed two strong auras approaching rapidly from different directions. He quickly said, "No need for a gift. If Yunyang Master really wants to thank me, just help hold off those two old disciples chasing after me." He glanced at the now sealed space and said, "I'll hide in there for a while. How can I reopen this space?" Jian Linyuan said in surprise, Brother Fan Jiang, you want to go in there? That space is full of Yin Qi. Even your Thunder Dao divine power can't shield you indefinitely. Eventually, it'll get depleted." Jiang Fan urged, "I have my ways." Begrudgingly, Jian Linyuan explained, "It's a hidden space. It requires a trace of space power to activate. It was during a duel that I accidentally used a bit of space power and activated it." He then pulled out a tattered talisman containing a faint trace of space power and tossed it to Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan said, "Thank you, Senior Brother Jian." Feeling the two auras getting closer, he dared not linger and decisively threw the tattered talisman forward, hitting the air in front of him. As the talisman's space power collided with the air, the once vanished black fissure reappeared. Jiang Fan's body shimmered with lightning as he swiftly entered. Moments later, Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu arrived with scowls on their faces. They scanned the area and, seeing only Yunyang's group with no sign of Jiang Fan, promptly dashed off in another direction, clearly angered but determined to continue their search. Yunyang appeared astonished. What did Fan Jiang do to them? Judging by their expressions, it seems like they suffered a huge loss. Wu Manyu, cunning and shrewd as she is, and Ren Guheng, both powerful and meticulous, both of them getting outplayed by Fan Jiang. He really has some skill. Comparing her own disciples, she couldn't help but shake her head. The best disciples are always someone else's. "Let's go. We'll head back to the surface. Later, we can obediently listen to the Pavilion Master announce the impressive achievements of other sects' disciples." Their exploration on this trip yielded little result. The merit rankings to be announced later would most likely leave them in the bottom rankings again. Fan Jiang is still in there. Just leaving him? Even if he isn't one of your disciples, you wouldn't just abandon him like that, would you? Yunyang gently poked her forehead. "Use your head more. With so many of us here, staying neither leaving nor doing anything. Won't Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu become suspicious? Besides, if Fan Jiang could outsmart those two, he's no fool. If he dared to go in, he naturally has his reasons. We should leave quickly and not draw attention to him. That's what we should really be doing." Shang Shikyu grumbled, feeling chastised. Pouting, she mumbled quietly, "Talking about me. When you're reading books, you're even dumber than I am." HMPH, inside the hidden space. As soon as Jiang Fan stepped in, he felt a suffocatingly dense Yin Qi. It seeped through every pore, desperately trying to invade his body. Even with the protection of thunder energy, he couldn't completely block it. Whenever a wisp entered his body, it acted like a bloodsucker, excitedly heading straight for his golden core. The thunder arc in Jiang Fan's body surged and swiftly obliterated it. No wonder that Li Shangqiu didn't want to come. With such concentrated Yin Qi, anyone below nascent soul realm coming here would be wasting their time. He promptly pulled out the mountain river tripod. "Little broken tripod, whether you're a blessing or a burden depends on your performance today." While channeling spiritual power to activate it, he simultaneously employed the great Yin Sect's Yin Corp's refining technique to manipulate the Yin Qi in the space. Under the movement of the cultivation technique, the pervasive Yin Qi began converging into the mountain river tripod. Initially, there was no visible change inside the tripod. As more and more Yin Qi was refined, finally, the inner walls of the tripod began to be coated with a pitch-black water mist. Gradually, it condensed into droplets and pooled at the bottom of the tripod, forming a puddle of liquid. As the liquid accumulated, it approached the rim of the tripod, threatening to overflow. Jiang Fan furrowed his brow. "This tripod is useful, sure, but it's too small." It was only palm-sized, incapable of holding much. At that moment, the mountain river tripod seemed to understand Jiang Fan's complaint. As soon as he finished mumbling, it suddenly grew larger. As the liquid threatened to spill over again, it grew larger still. This went on repeatedly. When all the Yin Qi in the space had been cleared, the once tiny mountain river tripod had transformed into a 2-foot-high cauldron. Inside, it was filled to the brim with ink-black liquefied Yin Qi, which was being rapidly condensed. Jiang Fan stared at the mountain river tripod. Astonished, this tripod is called Mountain River. Could it really expand infinitely and contain an entire mountain and river? Crackling sounds soon emerged from within the tripod. It was the liquefied Yin Qi beginning to solidify into fist-sized stones. The stones condensed even further, until all that remained was a thin black shard, no bigger than half a thumbnail. This must be what Xianxia referred to as yin marrow. Jiang Fan carefully wrapped it in a delicate piece of cotton. This material was exceedingly fragile. Even the slightest touch could cause it to erupt back into Yin Qi. I'll ask around later and see if this thing holds any value. After securing the cotton-wrapped shard, he finally took the time to examine his surroundings. This place resembled a military camp. The ground was littered with remnants of documents decayed into mud. 7 or 8 armored skeletons lay scattered around on both sides. On the desk at the very front, a pile of miscellaneous items was chaotically arranged. Documents? Curious, Jiang Fan stepped forward, intending to pick them up for a look, but his steps caused vibrations on the ground, disintegrating the fragile documents in an instant. A hint of regret flickered in Jiang Fan's eyes. He then approached the armored guards, intending to search through them. Yet, just as he unsheathed the purple sword and touched the armor, the sharp energy of the blade proved fatal for the brittle remains. The brittle skeleton within the armor instantly shattered. The heavy armor, now unsupported, fell with a loud crash, echoing across the ground. This sound triggered a series of chain reactions. From distant corpse remains to scattered documents, slanted weapons, and even the desk at the front, everything shattered. The commotion lasted for quite a while before settling down. Jiang Fan waved away the dust from his face, looking helpless. How many years have passed for everything in this space to be so fragile? When the dust finally settled, all that lay before him were shattered remnants. Not a single intact item. Jiang Fan's gaze suddenly froze. Among the desk ruins broken into fragments lay an ink brush. Unscathed, it hasn't decayed. He walked over and carefully lifted the ink brush from the rubble. It was incredibly heavy to the touch. Though only a foot long, holding it felt like bearing 1,000 pounds. The brush handle was pitch black, carved with 2 characters, execution. The brush tip was an unknown material dyed with crimson ink. Despite the unknown number of years that had passed, the red ink remained vibrant. Curious, he picked up the brush and tried to write the character me on the ground. Oddly enough, the ink brush began to write other characters on its own. The first stroke formed Chinese letter 1. The second stroke, Chinese letter / the third stroke, Japanese letter hook, the fourth stroke, horizontal. Jiang Fan's heart sank. This was part of the character Chinese letter death. He quickly lifted the brush. At that moment, he realized his entire body felt weak and sluggish, slumping to the ground. When he examined himself internally, he was shocked. His golden core was completely empty. Not a trace of spiritual power remained. All that was left in his body were fragments of void flow thunder force. Cold sweat poured down his face. Merely writing half the character for death, within mere breaths, had drained all his spiritual power, consuming 90% of his physical strength. What is up with this brush? Jiang Fan's hands trembled weakly, nearly unable to hold onto the brush. Looking back at the execution characters etched on the handle, his mind roared with clarity. He realized what kind of brush he held. The execution pen. This was the sacred pen used to mark condemned prisoners for their executions. After a death row inmate passed through all required trials, upon final judgment, the highest authority would use a red ink brush to mark their names. This pen must be the one specially made for such executions. Merely writing half the character for death had nearly drained Jiang Fan dry. If he completed the full character, he feared he would end up a dried-out corpse. If I wrote the full death character and marked someone with it, would that effectively sentence them immediately? Would it mean instant death for them? His eyes sparkled with excitement. He faintly sensed that he had gained a terrifyingly powerful trump card. However, he needed to quickly elevate his cultivation. The current amount of spiritual power he possessed was far from enough to wield the execution pen's deadly abilities. Stowing the pen safely within the heavenly thunder stone, he immediately sat cross-legged and began recovering his spiritual power and physical strength. Just then, a faint slicing sound came from the entrance to the space he'd entered earlier, like a spatial fissure being forcibly opened by someone. A delicate voice followed closely after. "Someone's inside!" Jiang Fan's body stiffened. Immediately alert, he turned to look. What he saw was a maiden in snow-white robes with jet-black hair like a waterfall and ethereal beauty. Her presence radiated a distant and unworldly grace. Momentarily, Jiang Fan even thought he was seeing concubine Xianxia. Her aura and elegance were so strikingly similar. "Who are you?" Jiang Fan eyed her, a hint of admiration rising in his expression. The woman in white gracefully inclined her head and said softly, "I am Huaxi. Junior brother, you're from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion too, aren't you?" So she was a disciple of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Jiang Fan nodded discreetly. He had to admit, the beauty of Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion disciples was unmatched. The earlier Yi Bangxia had been dazzling, and now Huaxi was in no way inferior. He warily glanced toward the spatial entrance behind her and said, "Is it only senior sister Huaxi here?" Huaxi offered a comforting smile. "I always act alone." "You need not worry, junior brother." Jiang Fan nodded slightly, but suddenly a notion struck him, and his heart was overwhelmed with alarm. No, something was wrong. This woman was lying. Not human Xianxia had sternly warned Liang Feiyan. In the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, don't mess around romantically. Because every female disciple he deemed beautiful, except for Yi Bangxia, was already taken. But this girl claimed to walk alone? Suspicious. Jiang Fan's eyes flickered, but he didn't raise his voice. Instead, he silently focused on recovering his spiritual power and stamina. "Junior brother, have you gained anything here?" Huaxi glided forward gracefully and stopped by the shattered remains of a guard. She poked the armor pieces with her finger. With a puff, the armor was punctured with ease. She couldn't help but frown. Jiang Fan sighed and said, "You've seen it yourself. Even the armor has been eroded by time to such an extent. What else could have survived?" Unwilling to give up, Huaxi searched around the tent. No exceptions. Everything had rotted beyond recognition, crumbling at the slightest touch. Not a single item could be taken. What a wasted effort. "I thought I'd found treasure." Huaxi sighed softly. Then she turned her gaze to Jiang Fan, curiosity brimming in her tone. "Did you fight with someone? Why do you look so drained?" Jiang Fan's heart tightened slightly, but outwardly he acted as if nothing was amiss and said, "Just a minor injury, nothing serious." At this moment, he had already recovered enough spiritual power, sufficient to activate the 5 magnetic Yuan Mountain. The Void Flow Thunder Force remained intact as well. Suppressing this woman wouldn't be an issue. Huaxi hesitated briefly before taking out a jade bottle from her bosom and said, "I know you're feeling weak and are wary of others. Here's a healing spirit pill. I won't push you to consume it. I'll leave it on the ground. You decide whether to use it or not." She placed the pill bottle on the ground not far from Jiang Fan. "Thank you for your thoughtful gesture, senior sister, but I must ask you to take it back." He shifted slightly, moving further away from the pill bottle. This woman had lied from the start. From then on, Jiang Fan didn't believe a single word she said, no matter how kind or gentle she appeared. In Jiang Fan's eyes, everything was stained with suspicion. Huaxi let out a bitter smile. "I understand. If you need any help," Jiang Fan interrupted her without hesitation. "Senior sister, if you truly wish to help, please leave this place. That would put me more at ease." Hearing Jiang Fan's blunt remarks, Huaxi sighed lightly. "All right then. Since junior brother insists, I'll not linger unnecessarily. Take care." With that, she walked toward the exit without looking back, carrying an air of grievance. Her slender figure seemed forlorn at that moment, cherishably pitiful, evoking sympathy. Even Jiang Fan couldn't help but feel a sliver of guilt. Was he being too ruthless? But he maintained his initial suspicion and did not stop her. At the exit, Huaxi activated a spatial rift and was about to walk through. Suddenly, she seemed to be struck by something from the outside. With a painful groan, her body was sent flying back like a fallen leaf. Blood spurted from her chest, rapidly staining her robes crimson. Jiang Fan frowned slightly. "What happened?" Huaxi struggled to lift her head and gazed at the resealed spatial exit. Her face curled into a bitter smile. "I provoked some people and they chased me to the space outside. My apologies for dragging you into this, but don't worry. They shouldn't know how to open this place yet. Otherwise, they wouldn't be ambushing from outside." Jiang Fan's expression darkened. "How can I not worry? So what, I must hide here as long as they don't leave?" Huaxi bit her red lips lightly, deep remorse flashing across her face. "I'm truly sorry. Once my injuries heal, I'll go out alone so as not to implicate you further." With that, she retrieved the healing pills, poured one out, and swallowed it. Then she sat cross-legged and began nurturing her wounds. "You really won't take it, junior brother?" She pointed at the jade bottle again. Having consumed the remedy herself, she had proven the pill was safe. Jiang Fan responded decisively. No, hadn't Yan Daeon once consumed the mixed element nine-colored marrow right after Jiang Fan? And what was the result? Huaxi shook her head and said, "You're overly cautious, junior brother." "Fine, do it your way." Suddenly, she grimaced in agony and vomited a mouthful of blood. Her body began convulsing uncontrollably before collapsing entirely. The blood from her wounds showed no signs of stopping. It gushed out even faster. Despicable! Using such a vile attack! She tried to retrieve another pill from the bottle. But her trembling hands failed her, dropping the jade bottle which rolled near Jiang Fan. "Junior brother, help me pick up a healing spirit pill." Huaxi gasped heavily, weakly imploring Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan furrowed his brow. After a moment of contemplation, he took out a revitalizing pill and tossed it toward her. "Take mine." The revitalizing pill landed precisely by her hand. Huaxi grabbed it with difficulty and shoved it toward her mouth. But her mysterious injuries were too severe. Before she could consume it, she spat another mouthful of blood, sending the pill flying away. Her hand reached out weakly for the fallen, revitalizing pill, but eventually fell limp. Her eyes lost focus rapidly. Faint traces of pain lingered. Her breathing thinned with each passing moment until she was no more. Seeing she was about to die, Jiang Fan remained still in his spot, letting Huaxi perish in pain and despair without moving a muscle. Even so, Jiang Fan remained vigilant. He kept his gaze fixed on her lifeless body while continuing to restore his spiritual power. Time inched forward. A cup of tea's time, 30 minutes, an hour. With his spiritual power and stamina nearly recovered, Jiang Fan felt somewhat relieved. But he didn't drop his guard completely. This woman was clearly suspicious. The more he thought about it, the more he felt unease. A sharp gleam flickered in his eyes. He manipulated his flying sword, sending it straight at her heart. With a squelch, blood sprayed everywhere. Huaxi's corpse lay motionless. Still, he wasn't reassured. He directed his flying sword to slice her garments to shreds, making sure there was nothing dangerous hidden within. Once certain there were no abnormalities, he summoned a blazing flame in his palm. He flicked it onto her corpse, intending to burn it to ashes. But who knew, at that moment, Huaxi's corpse suddenly sat up. She was alive. With a single hand motion, she extinguished the flames heading towards her. Rubbing her temples, she muttered to herself, "Where did I go wrong? Was my performance lacking? Or were you simply too crafty? Why won't you take the bait?" With a chilling tone, she slowly lifted her head. Her strikingly beautiful eyes, previously bright black and white, had transformed into pitch darkness. They were like pools of ink devoid of pupils. Completely black, clearly not human, Jiang Fan narrowed his eyes and responded coldly, "Because I figured out from the start that you aren't human." The beautiful female disciples of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion all had suitors, but she claimed she had always been alone. Other than the possibility that she was lying, there was actually another possibility, and that is, she didn't know anything about the situation in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. To be in the 9th layer of the underground world of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, but remain oblivious to the widely known matter of men and women. Who exactly is she? The answer was practically screaming at them. A yin creature, just as Yunzi had warned the new arrivals in the 9th layer, beware of yin creatures. Huaxi slowly stood up. The gaping hole in her chest began to close at a visible speed. A thin layer of black mist surged across her body, transforming into an elegant black gown. Her face, so strikingly similar to concubine Xianxia's, now appeared like a flower in the mist. Clearly within reach, yet impossible to discern clearly. "Oh, how did you know?" Huaxi cradled her chest with her left hand and supported her delicate chin with her right, asking with solemn curiosity. Jiang Fan replied, "It's quite simple." He drew out a jade box containing yin marrow and said, "If there were no yin creatures in this place, how could the Yin Qi be so concentrated that it condensed into yin marrow?" When he was examining the surroundings earlier, he already had his suspicions. There were some conspicuous human remains here, but they didn't emanate any Yin Qi. So the dense Yin Qi in this place was highly suspicious. Huaxi's appearance immediately amplified Jiang Fan's doubts. "I see." Huaxi revealed a look of sudden realization. Even the most meticulous plans have their flaws. Jiang Fan scrutinized her stunning figure and breathtaking beauty. He too showed a trace of realization. No wonder when I asked my elders about the characteristics of yin creatures. They avoided the question and merely told me to guard against lust. Such a stunning, gentle, and fragile-looking fairy sister could indeed easily ensnare the unsuspecting. especially since this yin creature possessed an alarmingly high level of spiritual wisdom. It could even disguise itself as a disciple of the heavenly mechanism pavilion. For new disciples unfamiliar with the pavilion, the deception was exceedingly dangerous. Suddenly, a surge of thunder and lightning erupted under Jiang Fan's right foot. He stomped firmly half a foot behind his heel. A jade bottle containing healing spirit pills had somehow rolled to his heel unnoticed. As his foot pressed down, the spirit pill let out strange, squeaking sounds. Under the assault of lightning, it emitted clouds of black smoke. Once the squeaking ceased, Jiang Fan moved his foot aside and squinted slightly at what he saw. It turned out to be a tiny centipede-like bug. Its back was pitch black and glossy. When it curled its head and tail together, it perfectly resembled a smooth, jet-black pill. Jiang Fan let out a light laugh. "No wonder, you either offered me spirit pills to eat or asked me to help you pick them up. So the issue lay here." After pausing for a moment, Jiang Fan started to inspect Huaxin's true form and said meaningfully, "Besides, you must still have some kind of powerful trump card on you, right? Otherwise, why would you pretend to be injured, even feign death, just to lure me closer?" Huaxin rubbed her temples again, annoyed. What kind of little monster have I run into? She had been a yin creature for so long, but had never encountered someone like this before. His earlier wariness she could attribute to caution, but she had already died. He even stabbed her corpse with a sword, stripped her clothes off, and burned her body with fire. What's next? Was he planning to scatter her ashes? The thought made her indignant. Damn brat, I've never met someone so hard to deceive before. Are you even a man? She felt that the female disguise she had carefully crafted, whether in appearance or temperament, should have been the dream incarnation of every man. Yet Jiang Fan wasn't moved in the slightest. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong with Jiang Fan. Her gaze involuntarily drifted toward Jiang Fan's legs. Damn. Jiang Fan clamped his legs together and shouted, "Where are you looking, you pervy ghost?" Huaxin's expression froze and she sneered, "That's still better than stripping a female corpse's clothes." I was just... Jiang Fan's mouth twitched. There was no way to explain this. And why should he bother explaining to a female ghost anyway? "Die, you pervy ghost!" Electricity crackled in Jiang Fan's palm as he unleashed a 5-thunder true heaven palm directly at Huaxin. Huaxin's expression changed dramatically. As a yin creature, she was most terrified of this kind of divine skill. "You brat, you can act, but I can't even talk. And now you're trying to kill me to silence me?" She opened her mouth and spat out. A tiger talisman, the size of her palm, floated into the air. Jiang Fan was stunned. The entire talisman was composed of pure yin marrow. His previous refinement of a thumbnail-sized piece of yin marrow was merely a thin layer on this overwhelming talisman. Smack! Clutching the yin marrow tiger talisman, Huaxin swatted away the incoming thunderstrike palm. Countless torrents of dense Yin Qi surged forth like a flood, instantly engulfing the 5-thunder true heaven palm. With deafening crackles and explosions, the palm's energy was entirely obliterated. The remaining Yin Qi roared toward Jiang Fan. "Void flow thunder force!" Jiang Fan slammed his hand into the space ahead. Stream after stream of electric current wove together into a net of lightning, scattering the residual Yin Qi. His expression turned slightly serious. "Pervy ghost, with such a powerful yin marrow, magical treasure in hand, why go to such great lengths to approach me?" This female ghost clearly could have used the yin marrow tiger talisman from the start. Not a single disciple in the entire heavenly mechanism pavilion could have escaped unscathed. Huaxin snorted, "Surrender the mountain river tripod, and I'll let you leave." Jiang Fan thought for a moment before realization struck. She had her sights set on the mountain river tripod, but was wary it might be inside a space storage device. So, she pretended to be a gentle and understanding elder sister to get close to Jiang Fan and trick him into revealing the spell for the storage device. Failing to deceive him, she resorted to force. "HMPH, greedy for treasures, are you? Well then," sneaking a glance at the yin marrow tiger talisman, Jiang Fan said, "If you want my mountain river tripod, it's not impossible. But don't think you'll get it for free." Huaxin mulled it over. Her instincts told her this Little People clan member wouldn't be easy to deal with. If she could acquire the mountain river tripod peacefully, that would be for the best. "What are you proposing?" Jiang Fan replied. "Give me the yin marrow tiger talisman and I'll give you the mountain river tripod." Huaxin didn't hesitate to respond. "Impossible? What kind of joke was this? The yin marrow tiger talisman was her most important treasure, more precious than life itself. How could she possibly give it away? Jiang Fan pushed for a compromise. Then what can you give me? Huaxi had already planned for this. She moved swiftly to the corner of the hall. Kicking aside several floor tiles, she revealed a small pit. Within it were items collected from the human clan across different eras. Deactivated ancient swords, rotten talismans, tattered robes. Jiang Fan's gaze turned cold. You killed quite a few humans. Huaxi glanced his way and said, If I wanted to kill you humans, how many of you coming to this underground world would survive? That was true. With the Yin Marrow Tiger talisman in her hand, no disciple could escape her grasp. They all died tragically underground in various accidents. I merely collected their possessions afterward. Jiang Fan scanned the broken and tattered items. He shook his head slightly. You have a penchant for scavenging. Too bad I don't deal in junk. Huaxi ignored him. She rummaged through the pile for a while. Finally, from the very bottom, she pulled out a bronze circular disc covered in green patina. Intricate and unfathomable carvings adorned its surface. Just staring at it for a moment made Jiang Fan feel a wave of dizziness. His eyes revealed a trace of vigilance as he stepped back. This is an array. He had only recently suffered a setback with Xianxia's gravity array. Soul expert who perished here. Once activated, it can instantly unleash an entrapping array. I observed it being used to trap a nascent soul-level hell creature, and it was slowly ground to death. She wiped away the dust and damp copper rust on the plate. Gazing at the now dimmed array plate, she continued, But after such a long time, the power of this magic artifact should have greatly diminished. It can no longer trap a nascent soul-level expert for long. Still, it can barely be considered a treasure. Jiang Fan's pupils slightly contracted. This magical treasure, capable of trapping a nascent soul realm cultivator. At present, Jiang Fan could only run when faced with a nascent soul realm opponent. And escaping was usually a daunting challenge. If he had this treasure, even delaying a nascent soul for just a while could increase his odds of survival. Thinking about the demon emperor who had taken a deadly interest in him, the practical value of the item was beyond doubt. Well, Huaxi asked, I'll let you go and give you this entrapping treasure, and in return you will hand over the Mountain River tripod. If you still refuse, then I'll have no choice but to use force. Deal? Of course, deal. To Huaxi's surprise, Jiang Fan cheerfully pulled the Mountain River tripod out from his embrace. She glanced at Jiang Fan's entirely flat chest, convinced further of her speculation. This seemingly young guy surely possessed a space storage device. Thankfully, she hadn't tried to forcibly seize it. Without the activation spell, a storage artifact would be useless to her anyway. You first! Jiang Fan's eyes blazed with excitement. After a slight hesitation, Huaxi tossed the bronze array plate over to him. After all, she held the Yin Marrow talisman firmly in her hand. Jiang Fan would find fleeing difficult. There was no fear of him reneging on the deal. Jiang Fan caught it in one swift motion. Huaxi then nonchalantly blocked the center of the palace hall, clutching her Yin Marrow talisman tightly, ready to prevent Jiang Fan's escape if he tried anything. Here you go. Jiang Fan readily threw over the Mountain River tripod. Huaxi extended a stream of Yin Qi through the air to catch it. After confirming there were no traps on the artifact, she held it in her hands for a close inspection. Its appearance and size were identical to the Mountain River tripod Jiang Fan had just used. Unable to suppress a smile, she remarked, Didn't think you'd be this trustworthy. Based on Jiang Fan's earlier behavior, there was a 99% chance he'd break the deal. Unexpectedly, he honored his promise so straightforwardly. She surmised he must have feared the Yin Marrow talisman. That's what she told herself. Jiang Fan gave her a sidelong glance, saying, You sneaky approach to me, did you think I wouldn't be cautious? If you'd negotiated this openly from the start, this all could have been avoided. Huaxi felt momentarily guilty. She replied, Fine, the transaction is complete, you may leave now. Jiang Fan, however, glanced inquisitively at a pile of items on the ground and said, Since you've just left them here to rot, why not let me take a look and pick something? Huaxi rolled her eyes at him. A moment ago, he was crying out about not taking trash items. Thinking of how readily Jiang Fan had handed over the Mountain River tripod, she decided it wasn't a big deal. She had little use for those things anyway. Do as you please. Jiang Fan immediately dug through the pile. Soon he unearthed a fairly new bundle, likely added just recently. This is from not long ago? Huaxi nodded. Yes, a month ago, a heavenly mechanism pavilion disciple perished. His belongings ended up nearby, and I retrieved them. Take them if you want. Oh, so it was related to the deceased senior disciple who, by dying, had caused changes in the team-building rules. Jiang Fan opened the bundle. The contents were sparse, consisting solely of basic exploration necessities. Healing spirit pills, speed-enhancing talismans, yang-aligned magic artifacts to counter yin-afflicting objects, and so forth. Suddenly, he uncovered a stack of talismans meticulously preserved in a jade box at the bottom of the bundle. Taking a closer look, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Dustless talismans." Jiang Fan had personally experienced the wonders of dustless talismans before. They could even conceal fluctuations in spiritual power, a remarkable ability. There were 10 talismans in total in the jade box before him. A sudden windfall, excitement coursed through him as he opened the jade container and carefully counted them out. Upon inspecting the final talisman at the bottom, he noticed the runes were more intricate, and the spiritual pressure was clearly stronger. After observing it for moments, a bright glint of joy returned to his eyes. Could this be a mid-grade dustless talisman? Startled by the remark, Huaxi glanced over and exclaimed, "It truly is a mid-grade dustless talisman. Among all these low-grade dustless talismans, there's actually a mid-grade one. I hadn't examined everything closely before. Seems I've let you luck out. This talisman, once activated, can even deceive nascent soul early-stage cultivators. Its value is dozens of times that of the low-grade dustless talismans." Jiang Fan beamed with uncontrollable glee. He immediately stored it within the heavenly thunder stone. Then he diligently resumed searching through the pile. Huaxi witnessed this and lowered her guard. She tucked the yin marrow talisman and the mountain river tripod into her sleeve. If Jiang Fan dared make any problematic moves, she could retrieve them at a moment's notice. She retreated to a distance, silently waiting for Jiang Fan to wrap up his scavenging. Completely oblivious to the subtle fact that Jiang Fan, with his back to her, was quietly moving his lips. The mountain river tripod hidden in her sleeve began to slowly disintegrate into a heap of silver sand. The sand adhered to the yin marrow talisman. Moments later, it detached and reshaped into a replica of the yin marrow talisman. Having almost finished his search, Jiang Fan sighed helplessly. "The rest is nothing but junk. Thanks, Lady Ghost Sister." "Sister." Huaxi was briefly stunned, a bit unprepared for the unexpected form of address. Earlier, he referred to her as a yin-afflicted creature. Later, as depraved, ghostly girl. Now it was Lady Ghost Sister. What a pragmatic person, whatever. They wouldn't cross paths ever again anyway. "Done, then kindly leave. You're not getting a send-off." This hidden space was her old domain. Xianxia's group stumbling upon this location was merely her baiting them out with a piece of yin marrow. Now that Jiang Fan had chosen his items, it was time to see the guest out. She wanted to carefully examine the mysterious little tripod. Her instincts told her this tripod was extraordinary, definitely not an ordinary spiritual artifact. Jiang Fan rubbed his nose, nonchalantly stepping toward Huaxi and said, "Lady Ghost Sister, there's something I'd like to discuss with you." Huaxi noticed Jiang Fan's movements. Her black eyes narrowed as her hand cautiously slipped into her sleeve, gripping the yin marrow talisman. Suddenly, the yin marrow talisman flew into her palm automatically. She froze momentarily. How had the yin marrow talisman moved on its own? But her focus remained fixed on Jiang Fan, leaving little time for questions. She coldly asked, "What do you want to discuss?" Jiang Fan grinned and said, "Relax. I just want to ask if Lady Ghost Sister could return the mountain river tripod to me." Ha! Of course this guy wouldn't play honestly. After getting the bronze array plate and dustless talismans, now he wanted the tripod back. Her expression turned frosty. "What do you think?" Jiang Fan sighed helplessly. "Since Lady Ghost Sister won't return it, then I'll just have to take it by force." The words had barely left his lips. In a flash, his figure transformed into a bolt of human-shaped lightning, arriving instantly. His palm gathered with the power of the Five Thunder True Heaven palm, striking straight toward her head. Huaxi chuckled in anger. "What speed! I knew you still had tricks up your sleeve. But to think a sneak attack would secure you victory, how deluded." She abruptly drew out the yin marrow talisman and fiercely swung it toward Jiang Fan. Yin Qi did not pour out from the yin marrow talisman. It seemed like a dead object, completely unresponsive to her commands, before she could figure it out. The Five Thunder True Heaven palm thundered in. Rip, the unparalleled thunderbolt, instantly struck her palms, surging across her entire body. "Ah!" Huaxi let out a painful groan and was blasted away. Her whole body was scorched by lightning, emanating waves of black Yin Qi. Her figure still spinning in the air. A cold shout erupted again. Soul-shocking stab. Ah! Huaxi groaned miserably once more. 5 magnetic divine light. Void flow thunder force. A 5-colored mountain descended heavily, pinning her underneath. Immediately, a lightning net locked her entire body. Huaxi groaned repeatedly in agony. Jiang Fan's attacks were not only relentless, but each move seemed tailored to suppress her fiercely. Whoosh! Jiang Fan's figure darted forward. His sword slashed, ripping open her sleeve. A talisman emitting Yin Qi rolled out. Huaxi froze. She glanced at the one in her hand, then at the one on the ground, dazed for a moment. What's going on here? Jiang Fan didn't bother responding. His hand moved like lightning, grabbing the Yin Marrow talisman on the ground and tossing it into his space storage device. Then softly muttered, "Scatter." The Yin Marrow talisman in Huaxi's hand disintegrated into a pile of sand, slipping through her fingers. "Gather!" Jiang Fan held a jade bucket and the silver-white sand flew into it. Huaxi finally realized what this item was. Memory silver sand. Just now, that mountain river tripod was replicated from memory silver sand. And it's now copied into my Yin Marrow talisman. She recalled how that Yin Marrow talisman jumped into her hands. Everything became crystal clear. "Human clan, you schemed against me." Huaxi was so furious that she pounded the ground savagely. Jiang Fan coldly said, "If you covet my mountain river tripod, prepare to pay the price." 5 thunder true heaven palm, he gathered thunder power. He was about to strike her head at close range, intending to obliterate this sinister entity on the spot. Huaxi's rage exploded. "Human clan, you have no idea whom you've provoked." Boom, a terrifying surge of Yin Qi erupted from her body. The 5 magnetic Yuan mountain was flung away instantly. Jiang Fan's pupils shrank. Until now, anyone who could resist under the 5 magnetic divine light was of only one kind, 9th layer perfection, and above, gasp. This she-ghost, even without the Yin Marrow talisman, was terrifyingly powerful. Jiang Fan felt his scalp tingle. Without hesitation, he picked up the 5 magnetic Yuan mountain and fled on the spot. Whoosh! He darted out of the hidden space, then used cloud shadow, transforming into a streak of thunder, disappearing into the clouds. Moments later, a white-clad figure shrouded in thick Yin Qi screamed as she emerged from the hidden space. She locked onto Jiang Fan's direction and furiously pursued. Jiang Fan dared not linger in the 9th layer. With an instantaneous movement, he arrived at the space transmission array linking the 9th layer to the 8th layer. This she-ghost did not have a jade talisman, making it impossible for her to ascend. As long as he reached the 8th layer, he'd be safe. He decisively stepped onto the array. His hand clasped the jade talisman and the array instantly activated. But the she-ghost, with speed terrifyingly fast. From afar, a surge of Yin Qi hurtled in his direction. Thankfully, at her current speed by the time she reached him, Jiang Fan would already be safely back in the 8th layer. He smiled slightly and waved casually at the she-ghost from a distance. She seemed to notice and let out a piercing, frantic screech. "Don't you dare run," Jiang Fan chuckled. "Catch me on the surface, then—" Roar suddenly. A deafening roar reverberated across the 9th layer. The ground shook, the overhanging dark clouds shattered. The air was saturated with a horrifying, berserk aura. The space transmission array jolted harshly mid-activation and ceased functioning. The rushing Huaxi also seemed to sense something. Her expression drastically changed. Without a second thought, she abandoned pursuit of Jiang Fan, ignored the Yin Marrow talisman, and frantically fled back into her hidden space to avoid danger. Jiang Fan's gaze turned grim. What was happening? Whoosh whoosh, 2 figures darted rapidly towards him, one chasing the other. Jiang Fan squinted and his mouth twitched. When unlucky, even drinking water can get stuck in your teeth. The 2 hurried arrivals were none other than Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu, both seeking Jiang Fan everywhere. Both spotted Jiang Fan. Ren Guheng instantly looked furious. "Jiang Fan?" Wu Manyu was so livid she lost it. "You bastard, I'll kill you!" She was utterly fuming. She drew out a rough stick of unknown rank and swung it at Jiang Fan, not even waiting to land a hit. Roar, another increasingly close thunderous roar shook the 9th layer. Wu Manyu stumbled mid-run and fell flat on her face. Ren Guheng's face turned pale. He grabbed Wu Manyu and bolted towards the space transmission array, shouting in panic. "Forget everything else for now. Run for your life. Those bald lunatics up in the 10th layer who knows what they're doing. They've unleashed a nascent soul realm hell creature into the 9th layer." "What?" Jiang Fan gasped. A nascent soul realm hell creature? No wonder that she-ghost bolted straight into hiding. He immediately pinched the jade talisman, attempting to reactivate the space array. But the ninth layer's intense tremors rendered the array unusable. Ren Guheng arrived and began cursing violently. What kind of trashy array is this? This thing's gonna kill us. Wu Manyu was equally shaken, unable to leave the ninth layer. Would they face death trapped here? She no longer gave a second thought to Jiang Fan. She turned and sprinted off without looking back, shouting, "Scatter and run! Whoever escapes survives!" Whoosh, Ren Guheng didn't hesitate, fleeing in another direction. Jiang Fan felt the overwhelmingly violent aura nearing rapidly. No way was he staying. He glanced towards Hua Xin's hidden space, debating if he should thick-skinnedly go back in to hide. But recalling her murderous glare, he shuddered, decisively fleeing in a different direction. Soon, Jiang Fan had fled far enough without seeing the other two. He suddenly halted, eyes darting. He pulled out a dustless talisman, stuck it on himself, quietly sneaking back. With those two luring away the hell creature, he could seize the opportunity to reactivate the array and escape. Returning near the array, he confirmed the berserk aura was moving away. Jiang Fan decisively hopped onto the array. But, before he could take out the jade talisman, the space array activated on its own. Huh! Jiang Fan blinked, bewildered, scanning the surrounding air. He pondered for a moment and reached out to touch the air. Unexpectedly, his hand landed on something soft. The air ahead suddenly let out a sharp cry. "What are you doing?" Ren Guheng hushed sharply. "Are you crazy? We barely tricked Jiang Fan into luring away the hell creature. Do you want to call it here?" Wu Manyu shamefully whispered. "I hadn't realized. You're just another opportunist looking to exploit situations." Ren Guheng paused, baffled. "What are you talking about? I haven't moved from this spot. When did I ever take advantage of you?" Wu Manyu scoffed. "Stop pretending. Who else could have touched my chest besides you?" She stopped talking abruptly, seemingly piecing things together. Ren Guheng's face stiffened, glancing uncertainly at the air. "Could it be junior brother Jiang?" A frigid snort froze them on the spot. "You two are truly something, using me as bait." Guheng rubbed his nose. This is awkward. He got caught red-handed trying to scheme against them, but suddenly he realized something. "Wait a minute. Do you have the guts to accuse us? Didn't you run back here yourself? You're no different trying to make us draw away the hell creatures." Wu Manyu gritted her teeth in fury. She flailed at the empty air in front of her, overcome with shame and anger. "You bastard! You've taken advantage of me completely, inside and out. I challenge you to a fight to the death." "Quiet," Jiang Fan suddenly barked out. He had just realized a serious problem. "We've all come back here. Doesn't that mean the hell creatures have also been drawn back here?" Wu Manyu's expression froze, her raised fist halted in midair. Ren Guheng's pupils trembled. The two instantly fell silent. On top of the array, only the faint sound of glowing radiance humming was left. The three of them held their breaths, not daring to even make a sound. Buzz, a sudden resonant hum. A beam of white light shot up into the sky, enveloping the three as it transported them away. Jiang Fan finally felt some relief. They had escaped disaster. That familiar sensation of dizzying disorientation swept over him again. Except without warning, a massive claw wrapped in pitch-black flames suddenly pierced through the beam of light. It slammed fiercely toward the three of them. The spatial transmission was instantly disrupted. The chaotic space power flung all three violently out of the beam of light. That was the only thing that saved them from being caught by the claw. Still airborne, Jiang Fan decisively activated Cloud Shadow. Rip, a streak of lightning burst forth, steering him to the side. Boom! A massive claw collided with where he had just been. The space around it quivered lightly, and an ear-piercing shriek of tearing rang out. If he had been even a fraction slower, he would have been crushed into a pile of flesh. Without hesitation, he summoned a flying sword and rose to hover midair. Looking down, his pupils contracted. A hulking monstrosity covered in black flame stood below, its body stretching close to 100 feet. It resembled a dog in form, but had two massive heads. Its mouths bristled with sharp fangs, dripping viscous black saliva. Its blood-red eyes gleamed with savage ferocity and cunning malice. Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu had been flung farther away by luck and weren't immediately attacked. But the dustless talismans on their bodies had been shaken off, leaving their forms exposed. Ren Guheng stared fearfully at the colossal predator, his voice trembling. "Double-headed hellhound? It's actually it. Even the pavilion master was forced out of the 10th level by this beast. What the hell are those monks doing letting it come up here?" As he stammered, his hands swiftly pulled out a pair of dried wings and strapped them onto himself. Infusing spiritual power into them, he transformed into a streak of rainbow light and shot away into the distance. Wu Manyu had long since realized the imminent danger. Tearing open a space scroll, she immediately fled. The double-headed hellhound's two heads each fixated on them, amusement flashing in its eyes. One of the heads opened its mouth and roared a deep, resonant sound wave. The space power unleashed by Wu Manyu's scroll was scattered and dispersed in an instant. The other head locked its blood-red gaze on Ren Gyuheng. With a sharp crack, it fired a scarlet beam of light. Ren Gyuheng, already nearing the horizon, was struck and sent plummeting down. Wu Manyu's pupils shrank sharply, her voice quivering. It can restrain space divine power. Both heads turned toward her. Their eyes glinted with merciless intent. Wu Manyu's body locked up, her breaths halted. It felt as though she'd been thrown into the icy depths of an ocean, submerged in bone-chilling dread and dragged into the pitch-black abyss. Rip, at that moment. A sudden crackling thunder rang out beside her. Before she could react, a powerful arm wrapped tightly around her waist. Her body abruptly reeled backward. Her vision refocused only then. The double-headed hellhound was retreating quickly into the distance, its rage-filled roars echoing in the air. She turned her head to see it was Jiang Fan. Wu Manyu froze for a moment. You rescued me?" She had never expected anyone would save her, because her usual actions made having friends a near impossibility. As for Jiang Fan, that was even less likely. She considered it a miracle he hadn't pushed her while she was already falling. Jiang Fan's expression remained grave as he worked Cloud Shadow, saying, "If the lips perish, the teeth will grow cold. If you two die, it'll be my turn next. I'll take you to a safe place first. Then the three of us will split up and flee separately. That way, we'll have a better chance of surviving." Wu Manyu dead, with Ren Gyuheng's life uncertain. The double-headed hellhound would undoubtedly turn its full attention to Jiang Fan. Instead of waiting for that to happen, it was better to save the other two. If all three fled in different directions, the likelihood of being pursued would decrease significantly. Wu Manyu didn't respond, startled into silence. Soon, Jiang Fan teleported to where Ren Gyuheng had fallen. To his surprise, Ren Gyuheng was still alive. The pair of dried wings had some unknown properties. Not only were they incredibly fast, but they also blocked the hellhound's attack. Ren Gyuheng had only been injured by the impact, not fatally. He stared in disbelief at Jiang Fan riding a thunder dragon into the scene. The sight struck him deeply with awe. "Go," Jiang Fan didn't waste words, quickly helping him up. Roar, the double-headed hellhound, unleashed another furious howl. A terrifying blood-red beam streaked across the vast expanse of space. Jiang Fan's heart clenched. He activated Cloud Shadow again, disappearing from view atop his thunder dragon. Roar, roar, roar. The hellhound, sensing immense provocation, glowered with its four blood-red eyes as it crazily pursued them. Rip, 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 rip after 5 consecutive bursts of instantaneous movement. Jiang Fan set the two down and said, "My power of thunder and lightning is completely depleted. You too. We leave our fate to the heavens now? Farewell." He used a movement technique, dashing toward the distance. Ren Gyuheng cupped his fists and hurriedly fled in another direction. Wu Manyu pursed her lips slightly, glancing at Jiang Fan with a conflicted expression before choosing a different direction to flee. But mere dozen breaths later, the double-headed hellhound came charging forth, the ground beneath turned to charred ruin by the black flame cloaking its body. Its two heads sniffed the ground, then slowly lifted up. Both snarled viciously in Jiang Fan's direction. With a powerful kick of its 4 legs, it dashed after him. The moment it locked onto him, Jiang Fan felt a chill of dread. "That damn dog!" Jiang Fan's expression darkened. He was still unable to shake its pursuit, after a quick thought. He pulled out the bronze array plate, scanning the nearby terrain. He noticed 2 tall mountains ahead. The gap between the 2 mountains formed a narrow pathway. Without hesitation, Jiang Fan ran through the mountain passage and buried the array plate into the ground. Though the plate could trap enemies, it had a glaring flaw. It required the enemy to be nearby. If placed in open terrain, and the double-headed hellhound's movements were unpredictable, it might bypass the array's range completely. Only in the confines of a narrow mountain passage. If the hellhound passed through, it would inevitably step into the array's range. Just as he finished burying the plate, the hell-evil dog tore through the space outside the mountains. Jiang Fan's face changed instantly. He sprinted away as fast as he could. Meanwhile, he silently focused on the sounds behind him, judging how far the hellhound had entered the passage. There would only be one chance. The array plate had to trigger at the perfect moment. Suddenly, a sinking feeling crept into Jiang Fan's heart. There was no sound behind him, complete silence. This gave him a sensation of profound unease. He turned to look. The double-headed hellhound hadn't entered the passage. Drip, a droplet of sticky black saliva suddenly fell from above. It splashed onto the ground near Jiang Fan, corroding a hole straight through. Jiang Fan raised his head. His pupils shrank to the size of a needle. The hellhound was perched on the mountainside, its four limbs steady. Its two massive heads slowly leaned forward. Its four blood-red eyes glimmered with cruel mockery and malice. Jiang Fan's trap. Thus, it did not take the mountain path. Instead, it scaled the mountain directly. Boom! It gave Jiang Fan no chance to fight back. The colossal 100-jang figure descended like a mountain crushing down. The narrow mountain path was instantly shrouded in darkness. Jiang Fan's heart sank along with it. But he did not give up. Clenching his teeth, he pulled out the Yin Marrow Tiger Talisman. Following Huaxin's example, he fiercely slapped it toward the sky above him. Bang! A massive surge of terrifying Yin Qi erupted like a dark cloud rising into the air. The double-headed hellhound's sneering eyes abruptly turned solemn. It immediately moved sideways through the air to evade the cloud of Yin Qi, landing at a distance. When its gaze landed upon the object Jiang Fan held in his hand, all four red eyes contracted simultaneously. Thud. It unexpectedly dropped to all fours, kneeling down on the ground. It let out odd whining noises. Was it submitting? Though Jiang Fan couldn't understand its sounds, its mannerisms indeed reflected submission. Jiang Fan was stunned. He had already braced himself for a life-or-death battle against the double-headed hellhound. But suddenly, things turned out like this. He looked at the Yin Marrow Tiger Talisman in his hand. The hellhound was clearly wary of this item. Could it be that this tiger talisman truly had the power to command an army of hellish creatures? Jiang Fan was a bit bewildered. Who exactly was Huaxin, and what earth-shattering artifact had he taken back? He stared at the double-headed hellhound before him, unsure for a moment how to proceed. An extremely dangerous creature of nascent soul level. Moreover, cunning and vicious. He certainly didn't think keeping it by his side was a wise decision. Suddenly, the double-headed hellhound abruptly lifted its head, gazing toward the far-off sky. An expression of fear appeared in its eyes. Jiang Fan felt something too. Turning his head, he looked toward the horizon. A golden burst of Buddhist light surged up from the edge of the earth. Dazzling, radiant. It was like a golden sun rising into the sky. It was the Dharma seal Vajra. They were pursuing the double-headed hellhound. Ooh! The double-headed hellhound began clawing at the ground in pure terror. It wanted to flee, but glanced at the Yin Marrow Tiger Talisman and dared not move. Jiang Fan shouted, "Go quickly!" If the Dharma seal Vajra saw both man and dog together, he'd laugh his head off. Because they were both targets for him to convert, taking both at once, how convenient. The double-headed hellhound couldn't understand Jiang Fan's words. It gave him a helpless look. Jiang Fan decisively stowed away the Yin Marrow Tiger Talisman, flicking his sleeve to signal for it to leave. Only then did the hellhound seem to breathe a sigh of relief. It scrambled to its feet and bolted away. But after running just a few steps, it stopped again. Turning its head, it gave Jiang Fan a long look. One of its heads opened its dog mouth and spat out a black bell, kicking it with its paw toward Jiang Fan. It muttered something unintelligible. When it noticed the golden light closing in, it no longer looked back, transforming into a ball of black flames as it fled. Jiang Fan was puzzled. Had it given him this? He stepped closer, using spiritual power to wash off the sticky saliva on the surface. Then, wrapping it in cloth, ensuring it was safe, he placed it in his palm to examine. It was a small black bell, slightly larger than a palm. It resembled the magic artifacts used by human Taoists. But Jiang Fan had no time to study it. He hurriedly put away Linglong and dug up the bronze array plate. Then he took out a dustless talisman, attaching it to his chest. Planting his body firmly against the rock wall, he remained motionless. Mani Om! A magnificent Brahmic chant, accompanied by brilliant golden light, approached from afar. At first, Jiang Fan only felt that the chant brought a sense of calm to his mind. But soon his consciousness grew hazy, uncontrollably focusing on the chant. He snapped out of it quickly, sealing off his hearing senses. Oddly enough, the chant seemed to resonate directly within his soul. His heart sank with alarm. He fought desperately to prevent himself from losing his mind to the chant. At that moment, a dazzling golden lotus throne flew overhead. The chant reached its peak in intensity. Under the illumination of the Buddhist light, the chant became utterly irresistible, saturating his mind. Jiang Fan's eyes began to lose their sparkle, immersing fully into its allure. His body moved involuntarily, stepping forward to follow the chant. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this critical moment, the little killin bit Jiang Fan's chest. The stabbing pain jolted him awake. He decisively began reciting the Taoist forget God spell. The heavens hold 9 stars, the earth houses 9 palaces. I hold 100 knots, myriad spirits obey me. The 3 corpses are sealed. 5 organs circulate freely. Fields and limbs align, breath in harmony at the core. Dragon, tiger, bagua, heed my jade visage. Ghosts, demons, myriad entities, Mogan, Zhen, Guan. Under the influence of the spell, the hypnotic chant occupying his soul gradually dissipated. On the lotus throne now far away, the Dharma seal Vajra seemed to perceive something, turning to look toward the shadowy mountain path, but sensing the nearby aura of the double-headed hellhound. He shifted his gaze away. Riding the lotus throne, he led the monks away. After they had left for some time, Jiang Fan collapsed to his knees with a thud. His clothes were thoroughly soaked in sweat, his face pale, the result of extreme mental exhaustion. It was apparent that even a brief resistance had drained him completely. And this was merely the incidental influence of the Dharma seal Vajra's chant. He could not imagine what direct confrontation with the Vajra would entail. Probably the mere encounter would strip him of his selfhood, and then he'd be converted on the spot. He couldn't help but shudder. He quickly gathered his belongings and rushed toward the transmission array. Soon, he made his way back near the transmission array, finding 3 figures waiting there. It was Ren Guhong and Wu Manyu, and a graceful young woman who was chatting with them from time to time. Slender build, fair skin, strikingly beautiful features. She must be a familiar senior disciple. Upon seeing Jiang Fan return, Ren Guhong exhaled deeply and immediately came forward, saying, "Junior brother Jiang, didn't the hell creature chase after you?" Neither he nor Wu Manyu were harmed, so clearly it went after Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan replied in a complex tone, "It was driven off by the Dharma seal Vajra." Ren Guhong's face lit up with delight. That's good, that's good. Let's go, this place is no longer safe. We must leave immediately." Jiang Fan also feared another encounter with the Dharma seal Vajra, so he hastened to the transmission array. Wu Manyu folded her arms, casting a sidelong glance at Jiang Fan, shyly murmuring, "This time you saved me. Thanks, our past grudges erased with a single stroke." Jiang Fan chuckled. This woman always changed her attitude like flipping a book. Unexpectedly, delivering a heartfelt thanks seemed to torment her, making it appear so unnatural. Ren Guhong added, "I won't hold you accountable for the dragon blood lotus matter either. But with Yi Bangxia, you'd better be prepared. That woman is incredibly proud and has never suffered any setbacks. Yet you humiliated her so thoroughly, 2 strikes with the Wolf Fang Club plus a kick to the stomach. I wager she'll remember you forever. Be wary of her." Jiang Fan snorted. "She caused me so much trouble. I feel like I didn't beat her hard enough." While speaking, he retrieved the jade talisman, saying, "Let's leave first. This place is too dangerous." Ren Guhong nodded and called out, "Junior sister Liu Li, come quickly." The slender young woman immediately picked up her skirt and sprinted onto the array with a sweet smile. "I lost my jade talisman. Hope to trouble the 2 senior brothers and junior brother Jiang to take me along this time." Liu Li? Jiang Fan was bewildered. Isn't that the name of his child's mother? What a coincidence, also called Liu Li. "You're welcome," he nodded, activating the jade talisman. The spatial array immediately began to function. Ren Guhong relaxed, eyeing Liu Li, saying, "Junior brother Jiang, you new disciples seem surrounded by fortune. I've heard rumors of several beautiful female disciples among you. This junior sister Liu Li is one of them, right?" Jiang Fan raised an eyebrow, puzzled, and looked at Liu Li. "Isn't she a senior disciple? I just saw you chatting lively earlier. Among the new disciples, there's no one like her." Ren Guhong and Wu Manyu's expressions initially froze, and then their faces underwent a drastic change. The 2 of them stepped back in unison. Wu Manyu said in a deep voice, "Junior brother Jiang, she just claimed to be a new disciple and said she was your friend. That's why we started talking to her." Ren Guhong decisively drew his magic artifact and said, "Junior brother Jiang, there's absolutely no such person among the senior disciples." Jiang Fan's heart sank. If this woman was neither a senior disciple nor a new disciple, then she was. He, a cold and coquettish chuckle escaped from Liu Li's mouth. At some unknown moment, her eyes had turned pitch black. Biting her rows of silver teeth, she ground them together with a grating sound. "You dog! You finally fell for it!" Jiang Fan's face changed drastically. He exclaimed, "It's you. The female ghost? Damn, this wretch just wouldn't leave him alone." He hurriedly activated his Thunder Dao divine power, but being caught off guard, his actions were exceptionally rushed. Meanwhile, Huaxi had long made her move. With a flick of her long hair, it wrapped around Jiang Fan, attempting to drag him out of the transmission array. Ren Guheng and Wu Manyu were startled. They immediately intervened to help. "Stay out of this. This is between me and him," Huaxi snorted coldly, unleashing a torrent of Yin Qi from her entire body. The two were blown away at once. "Ninth layer perfection?" The two gasped in shock. At this critical moment, Jiang Fan activated his power of thunder and lightning. Though not much, it should have been enough to counter Huaxi. But unexpectedly, Huaxi had already prepared, her body covered in a thick, ink-like layer of Yin Qi. The thunder and lightning dissipated upon contact. "Stop wasting your energy. You can't escape." She leapt out of the array, yanking hard to drag the now tightly wrapped Jiang Fan out. In this moment of crisis, Jiang Fan's thoughts raced. From within the heavenly thunderstone, a monk's corpse clad in acacia emerged. As soon as it appeared, the corpse emitted an intense Buddhist light. Huaxi, caught off guard, let out a shriek. The hair wrapped around Jiang Fan began to emit thick black smoke under the radiance of the Buddhist light. It quickly snapped apart. The space transmission array also successfully activated in that instant. "No!" Huaxi, unwilling to accept this, sent her severed hair darting forward again. Like countless tentacles, they clawed desperately at him. But it was too late. Jiang Fan had already been teleported away. However, an unexpected twist occurred. Although she missed Jiang Fan, her hair managed to snatch something from his arms, a small, innocent-looking creature staring at her with wide, blinking eyes. Huaxi froze. What was this? She stared dumbfounded at the little Qilin, while the little Qilin gazed back at her with an equally innocent expression. From the white glow of the transmission, Jiang Fan suddenly realized something was wrong and shouted, "Little Qilin, come here quickly." The little Qilin rolled over and hurriedly used its space escape technique. Huaxi also reacted, realizing that Jiang Fan seemed incredibly concerned about this little spirit beast. How could she let it get away? Without hesitation, she painfully opened her mouth and spat out a blood-red chain, which swiftly looped around the little Qilin's neck. The little Qilin used its space escape technique to dive into the white glow, but the chain around its neck remained. Before it could leap back into Jiang Fan's arms, Huaxi gave a fierce tug and yanked the little Qilin back. "Wu Master, I've been caught by a ghost," the little Qilin cried out in fear. Huaxi snorted coldly, "Return the Yin Marrow Talisman to me." Jiang Fan, infuriated, didn't hesitate at all and took out the Yin Marrow Talisman. Compared to the little Qilin, material possessions were meaningless. But at that moment, he was disoriented and unable to toss the Yin Marrow Talisman accurately. Nor could he guarantee that Huaxi would keep her word and release the little Qilin. Huaxi also realized the issue. After calculating the time, she stomped her foot furiously. "Damn it, the time you all have in the underground world is running out. There's no time for further transactions," she cursed angrily. "You brat. 1 month from now, bring the Yin Marrow Talisman to exchange for this little spirit beast. During that time, I won't mistreat it. But if you don't show up, this little spirit beast will remain with me in the underground forever." Jiang Fan could hear her voice, but he was already unable to respond. As everything spun wildly, his feet suddenly landed firmly on solid ground. Without a second thought, Jiang Fan dashed toward the downward transmission array. Ren Guheng abruptly pulled him back and said, "Junior brother, don't go. There's no time. You won't have enough time to get down and come back up. Otherwise, when the time is up, you'll be trapped underground for a month." Wu Manyu added, "Junior brother Jiang, since you hold that yin-tainted item, she wouldn't dare harm your spirit pet. You can rest assured for now. After a month, we'll gather the strong and help you retrieve it. And wipe her out while we're at it?" Furious at how they had been deceived by the female ghost, Wu Manyu fumed. First they were plotted against by Xianxia, and now tricked by a female ghost. This expedition to the underground world was admittedly a frustrating one. Jiang Fan calmed down as well. The little Qilin had the merit divine pearl inside it, making it unafraid of the Yin Qi's corrosion in this place. Spending a month wouldn't harm it significantly either. But if he were trapped here for a month, the consequences would be dire. "All right, let's head up first," he said through clenched teeth, suppressing his anger. Once back, the first thing he'd do was cultivate the heavenly thunder 6 parts, undying blade. Next time, he'd deliver such a powerful strike to this female ghost that her soul would scatter to the wind. The group hurried toward the upward transmission array. A crowd had already gathered there. Among them were Liu Qingxian and her companions. "Fan, where did you go? We were searching everywhere on the 8th layer and couldn't find you." Liu Qingxian approached with a slight pout of grievance. Only then did Jiang Fan recall leaving them a message on the 7th layer, saying he was heading to the 8th. He hadn't expected to be chased, forcing him to flee to the 9th layer, causing them undue worry. "An unexpected trip to the 9th layer," Jiang Fan explained apologetically while holding Liu Qingxian's hand. "I had no choice but to go." "I'm so sorry." Liu Qingxian covered his mouth and scolded playfully. "Why are you apologizing? We should be the ones apologizing. You were in danger and we couldn't help." Xianxia also approached. In a gentle voice, she asked, "Martial uncle, are you hurt?" Jiang Fan felt a warmth in his heart and replied, "I'm fine." Liang Feiyan stepped forward and gave him a light punch on the chest. "You rascal! Don't ever go to the 9th layer alone again. If a female ghost kidnaps you, senior sister Liu and junior sister Xia will be crying rivers." Jiang Fan felt at a loss for words. He had indeed encountered a female ghost, and a rather powerful one at that. At this moment, a bright, cheerful, silvery laugh echoed out. "Senior sister Liu, senior sister Xia, look what I found." In the distance, a girl with twin buns adorned with peach blossom hairpins came dashing over with a mischievous laugh. She wore a goose-yellow round-collared short-sleeve shirt with a pale red skirt featuring wavy patterns. Her knee-length skirt showed off a pair of slender, snow-white legs. On her feet were a pair of new white deerskin boots. Her round cheeks and smooth, delicate skin radiated with the youthful glow of collagen. Her large, glistening black eyes resembled embedded dark gemstones. Her nose was dainty, and her lips were ruddy red. As she ran, she let out contagious laughter full of vitality. She exuded a sense of youthful exuberance. "What an adorable little sister!" Wu Manyu couldn't help but feel a liking for her. She even wanted to pinch her cute little cheeks. Jiang Fan, however, grew suspicious. "Isn't this one of your senior disciples?" The new disciples definitely didn't include this woman. Wu Manyu and Ren Guheng immediately tensed up with caution. They had just been tricked by that female ghost. After all, the 8th layer was known to house yin-tainted entities too. "Junior brother Jiang, this person isn't among the senior disciples." Wu Manyu narrowed her eyes. Jiang Fan let out a bitter chuckle. "What a coincidence, she's not one of ours either. Do all these damned female ghosts have a compulsion for deceiving us?" Hua Xin had already enraged Jiang Fan by abducting the little killin. Now another ghost dared to try her tricks. Sorry, but she was about to face his wrath. In the arms of the cute girl, a hairpin quivered slightly, muttering softly, "Why do I feel like that brat looks a bit hostile?" The girl was none other than Gu Zinner, who had successfully infiltrated the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. She revealed her true appearance and used her real name, Gu Zinner. Anyway, her name and appearance had never been publicly shown. To outsiders, she always wore a Peking opera mask, and her name was simply Gu. No one would guess that she was the deputy leader of Jiangshan First-Class Building, a powerful figure in the nascent Soul Realm. She disguised her realm as the 7th level of core formation and easily gained the favor of several deputy pavilion masters. She immediately became a disciple under Chen Zhengdao and became Liu Qingxian's junior sister. After becoming a disciple, she couldn't wait for a moment. In a hurry, she followed Jiang Fan's steps into the underground world and quickly befriended Liu Qingxian and Xianxia. Everything proceeded as planned. She successfully got close to Jiang Fan. She smiled as she approached Jiang Fan and said, "You must be senior brother Jiang Fan, right?" "Junior sister Gu Zinner, greetings to senior brother." She coldly chuckled inwardly. "Little rascal, we finally meet again. You would never dream that I'd infiltrate right beside you, would you? What'll you think upon meeting your adorable junior sister for the first time? 5 Thunder True Heaven Palm." A sudden shout came unexpectedly. Gu Zinner was stunned to see Jiang Fan's hand behind his back suddenly surrounded by thunder light. Without any warning, he struck her with it. The powerful force of thunder and lightning blasted her away on the spot. Her beautiful clothes were charred black. Her exposed skin also showed streaks of blood marks. To disguise as a disciple, she had deliberately suppressed her realm, and with a sudden sneak attack. How could she withstand it? She immediately tasted a metallic tang in her throat and a trace of blood seeped out. She was dumbfounded. "What's going on? Why hit me out of nowhere? Is my identity exposed?" But I only said 2 sentences, to her further bewilderment. Ren Guhong and Wu Manyu also made their moves one after another. Dealing with sinister things requires immediate purification when they brazenly approach them. However, just as the two of them acted, Jiang Fan's expression suddenly froze and he shouted, "Wait!" Seeing the conspicuous red blood at the corner of Gu Zinner's mouth, his heart skipped a beat. He hurried forward to help Gu Zinner up, sheepishly saying, "Sorry about that, I mistook you for a female ghost." A sinister thing cannot bleed fresh red blood. This cute girl, she's really a new disciple. On their first meeting, he already beat her up. This is just what? You mistook me for a female ghost. Gu Zinner looked at her scorched clothes and face burned black. Her blood pressure soared with anger. She's not a ghost, but was beaten to look like one. This little rascal, he definitely did it on purpose. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She almost couldn't resist striking back to settle the score once and for all. Ren Guhong and Wu Manyu withdrew their hands just in time. They were astounded. This actually is a person? Truly a cute and pretty junior sister. Seeing Gu Zinner's miserable state, the two quickly put away their talismans and magical treasures. Pretending nothing had happened, they looked elsewhere. Jiang Fan guiltily looked at Gu Zinner, who was glaring at him fiercely. "Ahem, brother Ren, senior sister Wu. It's all your fault you insisted that junior sister Gu was a female ghost. You should quickly apologize to her." Shameless. Gu Zinner thought viciously inwardly. It was the rascal who hit her, but he still wanted to blame others. She's never seen anyone as shameless as him. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Just forgiving Jiang Fan would be too lenient on him. After some thought, she hesitated and then gritted her teeth. Holding her head unsteadily, she rose. "I'm so dizzy, senior sister Liu, take me back to see master. Just say someone hit me." Saying so, she fell into Liu Qingxian's arms. Liu Qingxian reproached, "Fan, you should be sure before taking action, shouldn't you? And you hit so hard. How will you explain this to Deputy Pavilion Master Chen?" Jiang Fan rubbed his nose. Having new disciples beat up like this on their first day, it's strange if Chen Zhengdao isn't angry. He could only try to appease Gu Zinner, awkwardly saying, "Junior sister Gu, let me offer you 2 revitalizing pills. One for healing now and one as compensation." Gu Zinner cried aggrievedly with tearful eyes. "I don't want them. I just want to complain." This was troublesome. Just as Jiang Fan was feeling a headache, Gu Zinner rolled her eyes and said, "Unless you let me join Zero too. Then I'll forgive you," joining their team. Jiang Fan frowned slightly, seeing as there were still 3 open slots. But is Gu Zinner suitable? Her background and strength were both unknown. "Wu senior sister Liu, quickly take me back. I hurt so much I feel like I won't make it." Gu Zinner started crying again. Liu Qingxian was anxious. "Fan, why are you hesitating?" Jiang Fan felt his head spinning, said, "All right, then you're allowed to join. But if your performance is lacking, you'll be kicked out at any time." Gu Zinner immediately stopped wailing. She wiped her tears on Liu Qingxian's shoulder, and her tear-streaked cute face immediately lit up with a smile. "Thank you, senior brother Jiang." In her heart, she laughed with glee. "Master, did you see that? Successfully got close to Jiang Fan. In the future, with any mission, I'll stay by his side. When the chance comes, just one swift strike." The remnant soul in the hairpin smiled with satisfaction. "Truly delighted. Excellent, just excellent. At long last, you've learned a bit of his shamelessness, too. The old you would never stoop to feigning illness and crying for benefits." Now, it seems, encouraging Gu Zinner to hone herself by Jiang Fan's side was a wise decision. See that, on the very first day of contact, she picked up a bit of Jiang Fan's shamelessness and even gained some advantage. Gu Zinner's face blushed crimson. Who's becoming shameless like him? I'm not the same as him. I'm being resourceful." The remnant soul in the hairpin nodded understandingly. "Got it, that's exactly what Jiang Fan thinks too. Who in the world would consider themselves shameless?" Gu Zinner pouted, her cheeks burning hot. She was filled with embarrassed rage. "Little rascal, you've corrupted me. After just one day as your junior sister, you've led me to this. I absolutely must cut you down soon." Seeing Gu Zinner recover on the spot, Jiang Fan was speechless. Said, "Hurry up and leave this place. The underground world is about to close." The group quickly headed to the transmission array, advancing level by level. Soon after, they finally returned to the transmission hall. Yunzi scanned the group, nodded approvingly. "Good, nobody got hurt. You're the last batch of disciples and mostly new ones. I thought something bad had happened to you down there." Jiang Fan's mind stirred. If they were the last batch of disciples, then only one group hasn't come out of the underground world yet, right? The monks of White Horse Temple. Buzz, suddenly. The transmission array beneath them began spinning again. Forcing the group above out of the array, Yunzi's eyes gleamed. That group of monks is coming out. I wonder if they found what they were looking for this time. Oh. Jiang Fan was surprised. They were looking for something. Weren't they capturing the hell creatures on the 10th level? Yunzi said. Capturing hell creatures was just secondary. Over the years, White Horse Temple has occasionally sent a group of monks, searching for a mysterious ancient scripture. Ancient scripture? Jiang Fan rubbed his chin. He remembered the Black Buddha scripture he found at the burial site of an alien tribe. Could it be what the White Horse Temple is searching for? What? Do you have a clue? Yunzi asked in surprise, seeing Jiang Fan lost in thought. Jiang Fan shook his head and said, No. I'm just curious what kind of ancient scripture is worth the search by the White Horse Temple. They are a true great sect with a bodhisattva overseeing. How could they lack scriptures? And why would they come to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion to search? Yunzi had no doubts. After all, Jiang Fan was just a newcomer. How could he, on the first day underground, find what the White Horse Temple hadn't in centuries? That would be too heaven-defying. He stroked his beard and said, It's the bodhisattvas of past dynasties looking for scriptures. Ah, the bodhisattvas of Buddhism are equivalent to the divinity transformation realm of magic cultivation. And it's not just the current bodhisattva searching. It's been generations looking. The scripture must be extremely powerful. Buzz, 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 the space transmission array suddenly trembled. An invisible force of space pushed the people off the transmission array. Yunzi's eyes flashed as he said, The people from the White Horse Temple are out. Jiang Fan didn't think twice. He directly used his movement technique to leave the transmission hall, mingling into the crowd gathered outside. After nearly being converted by the Sanskrit sound, he wanted to stay as far away from those monks as possible. Yunzi gazed at the transmission array. Suddenly sensing a trace of sinister Yin Qi, he whispered urgently, Get out! These monks caught another hell creature. Everyone was frightened and fled the hall. Yunzi didn't dare to linger either and vanished swiftly. Rumble! The transmission hall immediately experienced a violent tremor as if mountains were collapsing. A terrifying, massive creature, 100 feet in size, smashed the roof of the transmission hall right off. Its two ferocious heads butted sideways, causing the walls of the adjacent halls to collapse. The surging Yin Qi forced the disciples gathered around to retreat continuously. However, before it could charge out and cause chaos, the Dharma Seal Vajra, along with the monks, stood upon a lotus throne, suppressing the back of the double-headed hellhound. Visible golden Sanskrit scriptures formed chains, binding it tightly. Its body emitted a large amount of Yin Qi, causing the hell two-headed dog to howl in pain. But it was unable to break free. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master hovered in midair, frowning. Do you have to make such a ruckus every time you come? The Dharma Seal Vajra, with red lips and white teeth, clasped his hands and bowed gently. I apologize for disturbing your pavilion. This is the Asura karmic fire discovered on the 10th level. As compensation, he produced a mass of blood-red flame wrapped in Buddha's light. It was only the size of a candle flame. It seemed like a gust of wind could extinguish it. But the moment it was taken out, even through the Dharma Seal Vajra's Buddha light, it radiated an intense heat that made the air scorching. Jiang Fan was slightly amazed. This karmic fire could compare to the mysterious black flame of the Vice Pavilion Mistress of the Jiangshan First-Class Building, right? The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master revealed a satisfied expression. Master of Dharma Seal, you are too kind. He raised his hand to receive the Asura karmic fire. Then he retrieved the spiritual golden Buddha temporarily lent to the Dharma Seal Vajra and tossed it over. Master of Dharma Seal, have you found what you were looking for? The Dharma Seal Vajra retrieved the golden Buddha, shook his head slightly with a calmness in his eyes. Buddha's fate is shallow. I could not find that ancient scripture. Then, his serene eyes scanned the surroundings, saying, Dear benefactors, has anyone ever discovered a black ancient scripture? Everyone showed little expression, quietly whispering to each other. Jiang Fan also feigned indifference, asking nearby people what the black ancient scripture was. Little did others know. His heart was pounding wildly. The White Horse Temple was indeed searching for that black Buddha scripture. The Dharma Seal Vajra scanned the people. His gaze lingered briefly on Jiang Fan, seeing him inquiring with others in bewilderment before moving on, with no response from the crowd. He could only sigh slightly, and said, if anyone discovers that ancient scripture in the future, you may come to the White Horse Temple to find this humble monk. I promise to recommend you to any great sect and ensure a breakthrough to the nascent soul realm within 10 years. This promise remains valid. Everyone present was tempted, including Jiang Fan. A promise from the Dharma Seal Vajra is surely genuine. Achieving nascent soul within 10 years, given the strength of the White Horse Temple, is within their capability. The perfect 9th-level core formation realm is almost the endpoint for nearly all martial artists. Moving one step forward is an insurmountable barrier. Unless one has tremendous opportunity, great fortune, it cannot be crossed. And right now, such an opportunity lies before them. Who wouldn't be tempted? But Jiang Fan understood that if he dared to bring it out, he would surely be forcibly converted to Buddhism. Moreover, the value of the Black Buddha scripture that could lead the Dharma Seal Vajra to offer such terms should far exceed achieving the nascent soul realm. He wouldn't make a losing deal. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master was slightly surprised. It seems the White Horse Temple is getting anxious about this Black Buddha scripture. The monks of the White Horse Temple who had visited in past generations had always tried to mobilize the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion disciples to search. They had even offered generous conditions. But this level of promise for a 10-year nascent soul achievement reward is unprecedented. Even for a massive force like the White Horse Temple, to cultivate a nascent soul realm practitioner is a demanding task. In recent decades, the visits from White Horse Temple have become more frequent. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master vaguely guessed at something. Of course, he wouldn't divulge it. He said, "Master of Dharma Seal, I will also instruct my disciples to keep an eye out for you." The Dharma Seal Vajra nodded in gratitude. "Thank you, Pavilion Master. Then I shall not disturb you any more. Farewell." The lotus throne rose, taking the double-headed hellhound into the sky. As they were leaving the vicinity of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, the Dharma Seal Vajra suddenly looked down at Jiang Fan in the crowd, chuckled, and said, "Master Jiang, the doors of our White Horse Temple are always open for you. You're welcome to visit Taikang State and find this humble monk anytime." Jiang Fan's face darkened. "Thank you for your concern, Master, but please keep the door shut tight. Don't leave it ajar. Thank you." The Dharma Seal Vajra laughed freely, stepping on the lotus throne as he departed. He left gracefully. But his words left the old disciples who were unaware of the situation disturbed. "What? This person is on the Dharma Seal Vajra's conversion list. Who is it? Which one is this Master Jiang?" Swoosh, 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 soon. The area around Jiang Fan cleared out. The old disciples, like men who hadn't seen women in years, suddenly encountering a beautiful maiden. All their eyes shone eagerly. Jiang Fan was annoyed. This bald monk. Even after leaving, he ignites a fire for Jiang Fan. Of course, Jiang Fan wasn't backing down either. The bald monk, the Dharma Seal, would never ever get that Black Buddha scripture. "What qualifies you to be on the list? Show us." A commanding voice came from the back of the crowd. The disciples made way. 7 men and women dressed in red garment approached. Regardless of gender, they all wore uniform bright red robes. The women appeared glamorous and charming, like blooming peonies. The men were bold and imposing, exuding a commanding aura. At the forefront was a middle-aged disciple with a square face, towering stature, and tiger-like strides. His eyes possessed a captivating power. This person was so domineering, even the numerous old disciples were wary of him. Jiang Fan roughly guessed who he was. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be one of the 4 mythical prodigies, Li Xianxia, the leader of the strongest team Wuji within the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Jiang Fan remained unperturbed. If he were one of the 4 Vice Pavilion Masters, the older generation at 9th layer of core formation perfection, perhaps Jiang Fan would be somewhat wary. But having the realm without the tempering of years, it simply meant his spiritual power was marginally stronger. Though strong, he couldn't deliver suffocating strikes like the seasoned seniors. Jiang Fan said indifferently, "Even though I don't particularly like the Master of Dharma Seal, but now I'd like to say a word for him." "Since when does my business require your questioning?" What an absolute joke. Is the Dharma Seal Vajra trying to enlighten Jiang Fan, yet he needs the approval of Li Xianxia? Who does he think he is? Does he have the gall to question Jiang Fan's qualifications? If he has the guts, he should chase down the Dharma Seal Vajra and ask him. The murmuring voices that filled the space abruptly fell silent. Pairs of eyes slightly widened in astonishment. The only one bold enough to talk to Li Xianxia like this would be Xianxia, right? Of course, even Li Xianxia wouldn't dare order Xianxia as he did earlier. Bullying only occurs when the disparity in power is glaring. Between the strong, there is often mutual respect. Behind Li Xianxia, his team members' expressions chilled instantly. Their figures shifted subtly. As team members who would stand idly by while their leader was insulted, Li Xianxia raised his hand, and they immediately quieted down, merely staring coldly at Jiang Fan. "Even if you're a new disciple, you should have guessed who I am by now, right?" Li Xianxia's gaze was icy. "Yet you still dare to talk to me like this. It seems you really have some skill. Come, let me assess whether the so-called enlightenment list of the Dharma Seal Vajra lives up to its name." A wave of oppressive energy from ninth layer of core formation perfection burst forth from him. Jiang Fan's gaze remained composed as he was about to step forward. The pavilion master of the heavenly mechanism pavilion, hovering in the air, said calmly, "I haven't left yet. Disperse. Prepare to submit your identity tokens for merit accounting." Li Xianxia immediately withdrew his spiritual power. He gave Jiang Fan a long, penetrating look, saying, "Let's continue this fight later." Jiang Fan didn't bother with him. Instead, he curiously took out his identity token. This object could automatically record merit. Following the crowd, he held his identity token while queuing for registration. Standing at the back of the group, Yunyang Master had an expression of deep astonishment. Fan Zhang actually made it onto the Dharma Seal Vajra's enlightenment list. "Xianxia, why didn't you tell me?" Xianxia suppressed her laughter, saying, "Master, isn't it clear to you now?" Yunyang Master let out a long sigh. "I've only ever heard of the Taikang continent and the Sea Demon clan making it onto the enlightenment list. But for our little region to have one of its own? What a pity. It's such a shame." Plop, Jian Linyuan, and the others held back their laughter. They eagerly anticipated their master's reaction when the truth was revealed. Leng Qingzhu spoke in a hushed voice. "Well done, junior sister Shang. Master buries herself in books all day. She's practically turning into a fool. She needs a little bit of teasing like this." Xianxia smiled smugly but quickly became worried, saying, "But I didn't bring junior brother Jiang into our senior team. Will Master blame me for not looking after this new junior brother?" Leng Qingzhu shook her head. "You don't need to worry about that. Since junior brother Jiang is new, his participation in the team would lower merit points. Master will understand your decision." Xianxia immediately felt relieved. She calmly waited for the moment the truth would be revealed and her master would smile with joy. The merit accounting was personally handled by the 4 vice pavilion masters. Each individual entered a separate tent alone. When Jiang Fan's turn came, he entered Gu Huaxi's tent. Gu Huaxi was holding a pen, sighing as she recorded the previous senior disciples' merit points. Out of 10 or so registered disciples, the highest merit score is only 100 points. The exploration of the underground world is becoming increasingly difficult. I really don't know how this system can sustain itself anymore. In fact, the problem didn't arise just now. The issues had appeared as early as 100 years ago. The 10th layer remained unexplored. The 9th was gradually depleting. The disciples drawn by fame had dwindled, and the resources mined were progressively drying up. At that time, the disciples' gains could easily exceed 100 at the lowest. 100 years later, 100 merit points was already considered high. At this rate, the underground world would eventually become barren land. The heavenly mechanism pavilion, which relied on the underground world, would completely decline in turn. "SHHH," someone entered. Gu Huaxi looked up and found it was Jiang Fan. The tight lines on her brow instantly softened, and she smiled cheerfully. "Oh, it's you. Your first time in the underground world, not quite used to it, right?" Jiang Fan nodded slightly, saying indeed it was quite unfamiliar. Especially that Hua Xin. It was his first time encountering something so bizarre. The entity could freely shift its appearance and seemed capable of reading minds. First mimicking the aura and charm of concubine Xianxia, then taking the name Liu Li. This couldn't be coincidental. This ghostly woman definitely had the ability to capture human thoughts. Gu Huaxi laughed. "That's normal, very normal. Just the Yin Qi in that place alone makes people uncomfortable. You'll get used to it after going a few more times." "Did you make any gains there?" Jiang Fan pondered, then took out his identity token and said, "Yes, I did. Just not sure if it counts as merit." Gu Huaxi chuckled lightly. As a newbie, most disciples only explored the 7th layer. The bold ones might tread into the 8th. Those layers had been trampled repeatedly by earlier disciples. Finding even a single valuable piece of ore would be deemed lucky. Where could they possibly find anything noteworthy? Gu Huaxi reassured him. "Don't be discouraged, no matter your gains." She took Jiang Fan's token and placed it into a jade-like artifact resembling a pillow. While she did so, she patiently explained. Merit calculation is divided into two parts. The first part involves stepping into areas yet to be discovered by prior explorers. This is what the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion values most and the primary source of merit. The second part assesses the treasures you've obtained. The identity token roughly senses the item's level and assigns corresponding merit points. However, its weight is fairly light. Even if you find a spiritual artifact, the merit won't exceed 1,000 points. So, whatever the test result is, don't be surprised. She was concerned Jiang Fan might take the results poorly, so she gave him some words of caution up front. Jiang Fan silently pondered. According to Xianxia, the hidden space they'd found was worth 3,000 merit points. The tomb he, Wu Manyu, and Ren Guhang discovered seemed similar in scale, which should also be worth 3,000 merit points. If equally divided, each person would receive 1,000. Furthermore, he had acquired the ancient black scripture, 9 dragon heart blood lotus seeds, the execution pen, a bronze array plate, the yin marrow talisman, and a black bell. These should also be worth a fair amount of merit, right? Adding it all up, 4,000 points seemed like a conservative estimate. Among the participating disciples in this exploration, it wouldn't be considered low by any means. He nodded, saying, "Got it, Master Gu, I'm mentally prepared. I won't be surprised." Gu Huaxi nodded slightly, impressed with Jiang Fan's steadiness. That poise reminded her of herself in the past. Even if it seemed like the sky was falling, she wouldn't be startled. The merit calculation results were in. She glanced at the figure with a mild smile, still murmuring, "Good, good, you're mentally prepared. As long as you're prepared, that's enough." "Ah, how much?" She was so shocked that she instantly stood up. Inadvertently releasing chi force, she sent the desk flying. Jiang Fan quickly grabbed the desk, calming her, saying, "Master Gu, please stay calm. Don't get excited." Gu Huaxi was so shocked, because the merit points displayed on the magic artifact were 8,000. Such merit points. 100 years ago, that was incredibly astonishing. In the past few decades, the highest record was only 6,000 merit points. And even that was because that old disciple had undergone prolonged exploration of the 9th layer. He analyzed 2 hidden spaces, only then did he achieve such high merit. Since then, not even an achievement of 2,000 merit points has appeared. Now, out of the blue, an achievement of 8,000 merit points emerges. And it's from a new disciple who wouldn't be surprised. There must be something wrong. Gu Huaxi couldn't believe it. He picked up the identity token again and placed it into the magic artifact once more. But the number revealed was still exactly 8,000. Gu Huaxi exclaimed again, "Heavens! How is this possible?" This tent was temporarily set up, only blocking the view. Such a huge exclamation clearly transmitted outside, causing all the disciples to look over, full of bewilderment. The other 3 vice pavilion masters were all alarmed, each peering out to look at Gu Huaxi. Yu Yunzi's mouth twitched. This old lady, the older she gets, the more temper she has. Even if she saw a ghost, she wouldn't be so loud, right? Yi Kangyun shook his head and said, "Her mentality is regressing, she still needs practice." Chen Zhengda was a bit speechless. Getting startled over and over, is it worth it? Even the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master cast his gaze over. His eyebrows slightly arched. In his memory, Gu Huaxi had great composure. At this moment, Gu Huaxi's voice came over. Old Yi, little Chen, bring your magic artifacts over here. Quickly." The 3 exchanged glances. Yu Yunzi's face twitched. Holding his magic artifact, he went over first. "I must see what kind of ghost you've encountered." Yi Kangyun also brought his magic artifact and prepared to go in. Then suddenly heard a gasp even more exaggerated than Gu Huaxi's. "Ah, how much? Am I seeing things?" This gasp, the airflow it stirred up, nearly blew the tent away. Yi Kangyun looked puzzled. "Have these 2 old guys taken the wrong medicine today?" Holding the inspection magic artifact, he also stepped inside. But soon, a rough and shocked yell exploded. "Ah, how many zeros is that?" This time the tent really got blown away. Chen Zhengdao, holding the inspection magic artifact, irritably pressed the tent down. "You 3 growing older and still can't keep your cool. The Celestial Pavilion Vice Master still must look to us younger generation. Let me see what's happening." A moment later, a burst of expletive-laden exclamation shattered the innocent tent into flying tattered cloth. "Damn! 8,000! One exclamation, even higher than the other, made all the disciples present completely dumbfounded. Even the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master, hovering midair, couldn't stand it anymore. His eyebrows slightly sank. "This is improper." He flew down, casually conjuring a cloud to envelop the people with ghost-like expressions. "Do not lose your composure in front of the disciples." Huaxi's mouth gaped open, saying, "Pavilion Master, look." She pointed to the inspection magic artifact. The heavenly mechanism Pavilion Master, frowning, rebuked them while looking at the magic artifact. "As Vice Pavilion Masters, what storms haven't you seen before? Losing your composure like this, don't you feel embarrassed?" As he spoke, his pupils also constricted. The words at the tip of his tongue were no longer able to come out, because of the numbers that came into view were too shocking. 8,000? Even the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master was astonished. Since he joined Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, he had never seen anything above 2,000. His mind felt a bit chaotic. Looking at Jiang Fan, still just a new disciple, he said, "What did you do in there?" Jiang Fan, feeling very guilty, said, "Were my merit points high this time?" The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master seriously replied, "This is the highest record in 100 years. Huh. No wonder they were so surprised. He promptly explained his explorations of the two spaces. "You as a new disciple immediately discovered two hidden spaces." Yunzi widened his eyes. Huaxi was also astonished. "What's crucial, this wasn't even by luck. It was by strength exploration. Whether it was the tomb or the hidden spaces, they weren't discoveries made by Jiang Fan through sheer luck. The first was an opportunity exchanged with a key. The second was explored forcefully through Thunder Dao divine power." Yi Kangyuan clicked his tongue, saying, "All right, even if the two hidden spaces account for 4,000 merit points. How did you get the remaining 4,000 merit points? Even if luck was against all odds, discovering a spiritual artifact was only 1,000 merit points at best, right?" The few Vice Pavilion Masters looked at him in astonishment, a bit skeptical of what exactly Jiang Fan obtained, that the inspection magic artifact would assess 4,000 merit points. Jiang Fan said, "Do I have to say it out loud?" The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master finally regained his composure and said, "No need. According to Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion rules, all findings in the underground world belong to the discoverer. But if you have items you can't use, you can exchange them for merit points. That's how the items in the treasury came to be." Jiang Fan understood. No wonder the 4 nascent soul one-strike jade tokens he obtained were not only different in move patterns. Their power was also varied. The strongest was the first one, the transformed palm affecting thousands of miles. Far stronger than the following 3. Turns out they all came from the underground world. He shook his head and said, "I can use all these things. Moreover, with 8,000 merit points, I can exchange for the things I want." The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion Master nodded slightly, a trace of a smile on his lips. "When the leaderboard is announced later, I believe it will be quite lively. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion has been too quiet for too long. It indeed needs some excitement to reignite everyone's desire to explore." As the harvests from the underground world became fewer, the disciples' enthusiasm for exploration grew weaker. This time, even before the end time, the old disciples all concluded their explorations early and returned. Instead, it was Jiang Fan and these new disciples who returned the latest. Jiang Fan's harvest will surely be a powerful booster, causing a massive stir. The 4 Vice Pavilion Masters could all imagine the scene later. Jiang Fan will undoubtedly be the center of attention, basking in glory. His master would hold his shoulder, beaming with pride and delight at this thought. Yunzi gritted his teeth again. "That little girl named Xianxia. You've ruined my dreams, old man." Huaxi's face also turned ashen, teeth grinding with a creaking sound. "Ignorant brat, you've shattered my spiritual mentality. Just you wait." Yi Kangyuan couldn't help but clench his fists. His gaze turned sharp. Back at the Boundary Mountain, I should never have let her return. A wrong thought, a lifetime of regret. Chen Zhengda was also quite furious. "Good for you, Xianxia. You're insufficient in success, strongest in failure. I've taken note of you." Outside the tent, everyone was unbearably hot under the blazing sun. Only Xianxia was shivering with cold, hugging herself.